these are tricky. These aren't like the super pro ones.
Mm-hmm.
This was a 3-pack of microphones for $40.
Nice.
But they sound pretty good.
How many uses you get out of it so far?
This is the 5th one.
That's worth it, I would say. I mean, how's the audio coming out? It's legit enough.
It's fucking sick, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
$40 well spent, my man.
Bang for my... This whole setup, the whole audio setup cost me like $300.
Not bad.
That's how cheap it is and how easy it is to set up at least the audio portion of a podcast.
Right.
Incredible.
Wow, yeah.
You can just record straight to GarageBand.
What a world we live in.
I know.
What a time to be alive, you know, other than this public health crisis we're all in right now.
How many podcasts and how many babies do you think are going to be made in this time of coronavirus?
Probably both at an all-time high. Podcasts, I'd say, are easier because you can do it by being socially distant still. You can make a podcast alone. Can't make a baby alone.
True.
Other than a hand baby. But
quick little napkin.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about yesterday, I think that first night the bars open back up, we're going to see a population explosion. And I think even people that are kind of quarantined together right now, granted, they're probably already in relationships and maybe are making like intelligent decisions about what they're doing and like not, you know, not just acting out of like sexual frustration or whatever, you know, but like, yeah, I could see the population booming after this. But also the financial uncertainty, like people in relationships, maybe not, you know, with the economy doing who knows what, like, do people really want to choose to have a kid right now?
Right. Well, I just feel like if we're looking at strictly the numbers, the odds are that there's probably going to be a bunch of new babies, which is also interesting because it's like, I'm just going to be blunt, as rude, as mean as it is. The boomers are dying right now due to COVID-19.
Right.
But then we're about to have like a new boom or a new generation of boomers because of COVID-19.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Boomer 2.0.
Yeah.
Dang.
Like I've been every single evening, and I don't know why I do this in the evening because it just bums me out before I go to sleep, but I'll check the stats on COVID and what's going on with it, and like I'll do my quick little math of like, oh fuck, like is the percentage of, you know, deaths going up or down?
Right.
Luckily it's been going down.
Yeah.
But if you go, it's I think it's like worldometers.net or .com.
Yeah.
And it's showing you a live update of the world population.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just like a statistics website for population, deaths, births, all that. You can look it up by country, by state, doesn't matter. But no matter even how many smokers we have, how many diabetics and obese people we have, how many people are dying due to COVID, Ebola, whatever, you're watching this ticker go up about as quick as the ticker on 53rd Street or whatever, the one that shows the $1 trillion debt that we owe.
Right.
It's like the exact same speed.
Yeah.
Interesting times we live in.
Yeah, very interesting times. I mean, yeah, exponential growth. It's the same with the virus as it is with humanity. Like, the more people are born, the more people can be born.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, economics don't always play a factor in it. I think that if certain things such as, like, healthcare, education, food, clothing, shelter were guaranteed in some way or more certain to every person, not just a person of means, you would see the population go up even more, because I think there's hesitation for a lot of people to have children because, you know, how do you afford it? I got a friend that was formerly in investment banking. Now he's in like acquisitions at like another corporation. His wife's a lawyer. They have a baby and they kind of like struggle a bit. Now, granted, they're used to like a little different lifestyle, you know. Struggle for them is different than struggle for me and you probably. But like, nonetheless, they're thinking of like, how are we going to afford college? How are we going to afford this? How are we going to, you know? And like, It's tough out there. It's not an easy world we live in.
No, of course.
But what's really funny with this COVID outbreak is that all these ideas that used to be so revolutionary, and we were talking about this yesterday too, like all these things that used to be so revolutionary about universal basic income, universal health care, guarantees of housing regardless of income, that used to be like just pie in the sky idealism. Now everybody wants to push for it. Now everybody says like, well, yeah, we're fucked. Like, we need this.
Mm-hmm.
And, stimulus bills are getting passed and all these things. And it's like, okay, so we had this option all along. We just didn't do it.
Well, I think in part is just human nature too, because like to focus more on even COVID-19, and besides like the rumor, whether it's true or not, that the funding got cut to the team that would be in charge of creating vaccines for things such as SARS,
right,
COVID, H1N1 years ago, like a decade ago. We as a culture, and I think this goes for the rest of the world, not just even America, we don't try to address a problem unless there is one.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like the same thing every time there's a school shooting or a mass shooting period. That's only when we start talking about gun rights.
Right.
But if there's none of that happening, if things are just, normal, whatever, every single day, then no one's doing shit about it. It's not even a topic of conversation.
Yeah. When the dust is settled, nobody's really thinking about it. But when it gets whipped up, it's always a reactive instead of a proactive approach.
Right.
And a lot of decisions, public decisions and policy decisions, are made based on dollars and cents. And to these people, I don't think it's logical to be putting money towards something that doesn't exist yet, to be financing, research and studies on things that, well, we don't know if this will ever happen, so why should we put the money to it? Because when it happens, you're going to wish you did.
Right. Which is fucked up, though, because it's like that's the whole premise of insurance, buying life insurance, health insurance,
you bet against
whatever.
Yourself.
Yeah. Because another thing we talked about yesterday is being proactive in terms of our health. Not even necessarily like focusing on having a strong immune system per se, but just being physically active, eating good, treating our bodies well.
Right.
That, in my opinion, is almost more important than having health insurance. That's why, like, even to this day, people are like, oh, like, you don't have health insurance, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, I hope the government doesn't see this, but
yeah, same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have health insurance?
No.
Yeah, like, I haven't had it for about 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I'm going on about 8.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, what's it been like so far? I mean, any like
Fine.
crazy ailments or?
No. I'm a healthy person in general, and I try to do things to preserve my health. Proactive versus reactive. Try to eat a good diet. Try to, get exercise, get sunlight. Think positive thoughts. Surround myself with positivity. Do the things that, medical doctors and holistic experts seem to agree that these are the things that keep you healthy. I started a vegan diet at the beginning of last year, and that's been going great. I feel better than I ever have. I think I have more energy than I ever have. And also, to play off that, like, a lot of these pandemics and viruses that we see, terrorizing humanity, have come from animals and animal exploitation. And, the reports vary as to what was the source of COVID-19. Nobody truly knows. The prevailing theory right now is that it came from some wet market in China where animals are slaughtered live. There's blood everywhere. There's fecal matter. There's, these things are like coughing and sneezing and shitting on each other. And then people take that home and eat it. And, likewise with mad cow disease, H1N1, avian flu, Ebola, Zika virus. They were all zoonotic viruses, which made the jump to humanity through humanity fucking with the animal. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't a bat that bit a person. It's a person that bit a bat. And if you take that out of the equation, I wonder how much of a difference it would truly make with things like this. And, you know, there have been studies that have shown that the vegan diet also improves the immune system. So you take it out of the equation, and maybe other things such as the common cold and other flus and things that affect humans to begin with, maybe those have less of a chance to do something to you. I don't know. Maybe this is real science. Maybe it's pseudoscience. Maybe it's a placebo effect. It's been working for me.
Well, one thing that I feel is universal in terms of placebos is the fact that what you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, thinking positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
How biologists, scientists, whatever, they've linked negative thoughts in people to being more prone to getting sick.
Right.
So if you're like, you know, waking up unrested, I mean, sleep deprivation is already bad enough for your immune system,
Sure.
but then if you wake up thinking dreadful thoughts,
Right.
not even just depression, but like, oh, today sucks, like essentially like not being grateful for the blessings that you do have,
right?
You know, and only focusing on that.
Oh, don't touch my face.
That will that is almost more prone to make you, I guess, like weaker as a person, not as a person, excuse me. It makes your immune system weaker. You're more likely to get sick, and then it's just like a vicious recurring cycle.
Sure.
But one thing I will say, though, in terms of these viruses, well, actually, maybe it's not even scientifically true, but you would think that evolutionary speaking, that we would start to adapt to these viruses and our immune systems get stronger.
Right.
Perhaps it doesn't work that way. There's
I mean, I think that is what happens, ultimately.
But for some reason, like, people are still dying from the flu, right? Like, I almost wonder if there was no flu vaccine, if we would eventually, through evolution, start, you know, like, our immune systems would rebel against the virus.
I mean, I wonder the same thing. Basically, the way the vaccine works, the way any vaccine works, is that they give you a low dose of whatever the thing is, and your body creates the system to fight it. So
like the antibodies.
Yeah. So if your immune system is just on point to begin with, maybe you get the regs dose of it and you're still fine. Maybe you're just able to fight it. And you might have some adverse effects for a couple days, but you're not going to end up in the hospital. You're not going to end up in the morgue. You know, you're going to sniffle and sneeze and cough and maybe have a fever for a day or two, but that's your body working. Like, your mucous membranes and everything are made to just flush that out. When something bad comes in, shoot it out. Having a fever is, you know, your body heating up, deploying more white blood cells and fighting infection. And there gets a point where that's not good for you. Once you reach like 103, 104, 105 degrees, like, you can have some long-term effects from that. But will you get to that temperature if you've done everything to keep your immune system where it's meant to be and, you know, are able to just deal with it in a normal way?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know?
Do you do any other preventative things, such as, like, outside of skateboarding? Do you work out, or do you do the sauna or steam rooms?
Sauna and steam room, like, once in a great while. I should get more into that. That's something that I actually would enjoy doing, but just don't take the time to do it normally.
Well, yeah, you live in Greenpoint. I used to have a YMCA Greenpoint membership, and they have a sauna there. It's like $55
yeah,
a month.
people have said that. Where is that place?
Mesrol?
Oh, really?
Where's Good Room? It's Mesrol, right?
I don't know. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it's like right across the street. The YMCA is right across the street from the police precinct on Mesrol, I believe.
Yeah, that's Mesrol.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right there. I think like after tax it was like 57 a month. It wasn't my favorite gym in the sense that it was a little bit annoying because like, say for example, you have a day off, you want to go there at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday when you think no one's there,
Right.
and then there's fucking Jerry there with his like 2 8-year-olds, and they're just loud as fuck in the locker room, and you're trying to relax and have some peace of mind in the sauna for like 20 minutes.
Right.
But outside of that, I mean, it's a nice clean sauna, it's a nice clean gym.
That's good.
Yeah, they have classes.
Yeah. I mean, we live in New York City. The peace and quiet is never guaranteed.
No, for sure. Even like the gym I used to go to that closed down in January, it was in Williamsburg, and I used to chill in the sauna, and then at like right at 8 p.m. sharp, there would be like a Pilates or aerobics class that would go on upstairs, or like a TRX.
Yeah.
And then you have like fucking crazy loud music, like EDM playing above me, and I'm chilling in the sauna, eyes closed, and all of a sudden it just boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Against all four walls.
Well, you got to find your meditative state and just don't even pay any mind to that.
This is it, man. This is it.
Try to achieve nirvana in the sauna.
I achieve nirvana in the podcast.
Nice.
In the stew.
Yeah.
We have our dead plants here.
Right. I mean, productivity. Doing things that are creative because you like them. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is something that's good for your overall well-being as well. Even if you work in a creative field, if you're just always making somebody else's vision a reality and not taking time for your own, eventually that wears on you. And, you're not really meant to just be a worker bee for someone else. In any sense, really, in whatever job or capacity you work. I think it's important to take time for the things that you actually enjoy. And I think right now, also, we live in a society where a lot of people don't have hobbies, really. And
what do you mean?
A lot of people seem to just do their 9 to 5. They want to maybe go to the gym after work, maybe like catch a happy hour, maybe see a friend for a little bit. But the prevailing trend seems to be like go home, either cook food or like order Seamless, drink wine, binge some Netflix, go to bed, wake up, do the next day the same way. And there don't seem to be a lot of creative pursuits among the majority of people, I would say. And, I'm not a fly on the wall in everybody's house, but if advertising is any indication of it, have a look on the subway at what the ads are. Seamless, Grubhub, Casper Mattress, Uber, Lyft, the list goes on. It's just all these things that encourage you to stay home, hunker down, let somebody else do the hard part. If you are going to go somewhere, call a car, let them pick you up, let them take you where you're going. Don't speak to a human at any point in the process. Just type it in, what you're trying to do, and just let the system work for you.
That is a valid point. And then the other one is Bumble. Don't actually talk to girls.
Right?
Just right swipe them.
Word, yeah. Let them press up.
Yeah, exactly. Huh.
Yeah, a lot of times they're better at it anyway.
About what? The first line?
Pressing up, yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think it's easier for a guy to be perceived as a creep, and I think a lot of guys are creeps more so than women are.
True. Yeah. Yeah,
I think the reason a lot of guys are perceived as creeps is because a lot of them are, and it makes it, I wouldn't say more difficult if you're not, but there's like a little bit of a vetting period. Like you kind of got to prove yourself a bit, and you got to really come correct in this day and age. And be respectful and don't push boundaries. Don't do shit that you wouldn't want done to you or your mother, your sister, your daughter,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say I push boundaries in other ways where I'll just say some shit where I'm like, if she doesn't get the humor in that, then I guess we're not meant to be.
Well, that's something too. I mean, just because she doesn't vibe with the joke that you told, like, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or her. You're just not necessarily for each other.
Right. Yeah. But
And
no,
that's
but
fine too.
I'll never say anything lewd. I'll just say something that I'm like, I don't know. Like, sometimes my jokes are just so fried.
You're right.
And, like, deadpan humor is
Yeah.
my kind of humor. But
Right.
that's not everyone's type of humor.
No.
You know?
No.
So,
Yeah, you're playing to a certain audience.
absolutely.
I'm kind of in that same boat.
Yeah. It's tough. It's
But
like...
it's good when you find a good one. It's good.
Exactly. And see, I think I used to try to cater myself to, like, match what maybe the girl was looking for.
Oh yeah.
But now I'm like, fuck that. Like, that's
Hell no.
literally the definition of being fake. And, like,
Right.
you know, not thirst necessarily, but just, like, it's ingenuine.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not about that.
How long do you want to play a character to try to impress somebody?
Right.
You know? What if it does actually go well and you two end up in a relationship? Now you got to just be this person from now on. Is that really what you want?
Exactly.
Just to get a little piece of ass? Like,
Yeah.
that ain't the way to do it, man.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I feel like we've probably all been there, and it's just not...
Sure,
not worth
yeah.
it.
I mean, you live and learn, but it's kind of like... I feel like the older I get, the more I resemble myself. Like, there's not really much of a filter as to, like, what I'll speak about or, you know, and you present it in such a way, like, still be respectful about it, but, like, just broach a topic, like, get to it, you know? Like, I don't really hold back much, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then fine, you know? And maybe sometimes I do take it too far, but it's not, like... in a disrespectful way. It's like maybe she just wasn't ready to hear all that. Too much too soon could be.
That's been me. That's happened to me twice in the last month and a half.
Yeah.
It's so fucking frustrating. But whatever.
Well, you know, we're all barred indoors right now with just the thoughts swirling right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's part of it, but... Well, no, one of them was pre-corona.
Okay.
One was post.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Loving the time of Corona.
dude, it's a fucking... It's a vibe.
Yeah, you the Corona Casanova?
No comment.
Okay.
Interesting times.
For sure.
What can you do other than stay productive?
Right.
What have you been up to? Actually, you know what? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh,
so
yeah,
that everyone
okay.
knows who you are, where you hail from, what you do,
Okay.
what your MO is.
Okay. My name is Thom Musso. I'm from the town of Smithfield, Rhode Island, but I kind of claim Providence. I spent more time in Providence. I've lived in New York City for the last 8 years. My background is in film. People call me the man who films.
It's also your handle.
At the man who films. And sometimes I use Eat, Skate, Chill, but I don't use that one too much these days. That was the food page. Yeah. I grew up filming skateboarding. First, I grew up skateboarding, and then I started filming skateboarding. And it was kind of just a way of having a recap of the day and having a way of looking back at, like, what worked, what didn't. You know, maybe put together a highlight reel eventually, but editing came years and years later. I was just, like, filming it to film it.
Damn, really? So you must have had a lot of tapes then.
Yeah, good amount. I mean, I would kind of tape over them sometimes too. Economic restraints being what they were, but you know, you watch it enough, and then you're like, all right, well, this sucks anyway. Like, go over this. But, yeah, you know, that's always been kind of a passion of mine, is like film and trying to convey a feeling, trying to document something and get that across to somebody that wasn't there. And so I've made skate videos since I was, I guess the first montage or something I put together, I was probably 15, 16. I'm going to be 35 this Friday.
Damn.
Yeah.
2 decades deep.
I've been doing this, man. And now the project that I have in the works currently, which I'm going to put out this Friday, is called Covidio-19. And this is all clips that people have filmed themselves with the phone on the ground, keeping their distance from people, not having somebody there to film them. And they've just submitted these clips to my email, and I'm putting them together into a video. And it's all inclusive. Whoever wanted to send something in could send it in. I put it on my story. I put out the call, like, send me the clips. I made a highlight. I DM'd it to certain people that I want to make sure I got clips from. And people have come through. I got about 200 clips in the timeline right now. And I wanted it to be for everybody. Because guess what? We all in this shit together right now. Man, woman, child, black, white, rich, poor, gay, straight, everybody. We all got to protect our neck right now. So, may as well make something that anybody could participate in, anybody could appreciate, try and lift people out of the doldrums a little bit.
Feed them some inspiration.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Cuomo said yesterday or today. He was like, you got to find the silver lining.
Yeah, totally. Other than the fact that a lot of people are probably going to get sick and die from this, like, this is my dream. Don't have to go to work, have a lot of time on my hands to do the things that I like to do, still get to skate a little bit. I live in the industrial part of Greenpoint. There's nobody around anyway. So I can go skate, like, the little ledges and whatnots and what have yous around the neighborhood and not really have to worry about running into people. I've been cooking a lot, which I normally do anyway, but this has given me a lot more time to do it and a lot more incentive to do it because restaurants aren't open. There's not the option of like being lazy about having somebody else cook. And for the record, if I do eat from a restaurant, I go to the restaurant normally because I already know how to eat at my house. Like I can cook if I want to eat in my kitchen. Like, let me go somewhere else, But with that not being an option, yeah, I've really had to like motivate myself to just do what I need to do. And it's been a good feeling, honestly. And I was sick like about 3 weeks ago for a couple days where I had a fever, I had the cough, I had like, a lot of the symptoms that they say could be this, but also could be any number of other things. Could be standard flu, could be who knows what. Could have just been gas, I don't know. But because of that, I stuck around town here. Like I didn't want to go back to Rhode Island and be with my family where like, putting mom and dad at risk if I was carrying something. So yeah, I've just been hunkered down out in Greenpoint and been loving it pretty much.
That sounds like COVID.
I mean, maybe it was.
I think it was.
Honestly, I hope it was, because if I was able to fight it, then that just tells me that the immune system's working. And everything that I've read from doctors, scientists, holistic healers, even conspiracy theorists, the one common thread is that they're saying that it's immunotherapy that is the solution to this for people. And some people need to be on a ventilator. Some people need to have their lungs suctioned and things like that. But that's once it's in a very advanced state. And that's people whose immune systems are compromised to begin with. They're giving people a lot of vitamin C, giving people zinc.
In the hospitals?
Putting people in the sun. Yeah.
Huh. So basically just like basic needs.
Right. And if you speak to your doctor on the phone, they're going to tell you, all right, make some tea with lemon, do like things that would just promote your immune system. Because that's all you have against a virus. Even when there's a vaccine, still all you have is your immune system.
Wow. Huh. About to purchase some zinc.
Right? Echinacea, elderberry.
I think I have some vitamin B12 and vitamin D over there.
That's great stuff.
Might pop some after this.
Yeah. Turmeric, ginger, lime, black pepper, red pepper, lemon, pineapple. Pineapple got the bromelain in it. That'll break up mucus.
Ah.
Marshmallow root. Mullein.
Damn, that's like
The
literally.
list goes on.
Yeah. No, I've seen so many Instagram posts now and people's stories. Like, these are 9 things that you can get that are holistic medicines for your immune system, like immunosupporters.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you take all those? Or do you eat all those?
Try to, yeah. I mean, I have had a bunch of pineapples recently, like just keeping that in the house. You know, my normal diet is like raw fruit and some cooked, but ideally a lot of raw vegetables as well. And the vitamins and the minerals and everything are in that to begin with. Like, you know, I did pick up some elderberry and I did pick up some echinacea when I was sick with that. But, you know, other than that, like, it's just been business as usual. Like, I eat a big-ass bowl of fruit every morning for breakfast. I don't even normally drink coffee that much. Like, this is about the first cup of coffee in, like, 3 weeks, I would say. I drink a lot of tea, more so.
Oh, okay. So you still get, like, some caffeine.
Well, I don't know if it's caffeinated even. Like, the one I've had recently is a licorice mint. And those are 2 items that are good for your, like, bronchial health as well. I smoke weed a good amount. I haven't done that in, like, a few weeks either. But when I do that, I mix it with marshmallow root, which is an herb that was discovered in the days of ancient Greece and is something that promotes the health of your mucous membranes. So like the ear, nose, and throat, the digestive, the respiratory, it kind of keeps all those systems lubricated and moving smoothly. And I mean, maybe it seems counterintuitive to smoke it, but if you're trying to get it to your lungs, that's the best way to do it.
True.
You know, you can eat it, you can make a tea with it, but then your body has to metabolize it and know to send it there. You're not getting the essence of it directly into.
I feel like that still might be a little counterintuitive, though, because I think it's either parsley or what is it that cleans your lungs? Or maybe it's blood. I think spinach cleans blood. But I guess that's a little different when it comes to metabolizing, getting into your bloodstream. That's like eating weed versus smoking it.
Right.
Yeah, never mind. Maybe I'm just going off topic.
Okay. Strike that from the record.
I'm not a scientist.
Right. Well, neither am I. But, you know, I got Instagram and YouTube, so
yeah,
that's like an honorary PhD these days.
Yeah.
You know, and once again, like, maybe it's all pseudoscience. Maybe it's the placebo effect. Maybe I'm just not coming in contact with things that would make me sick. But whatever the case, like, it seems to be working.
Well, you know, one interesting thing with this COVID shit is that the numbers keep on coming out every single day. Like, oh, this many new cases, this many new deaths.
Right.
Well, it's like, that's not necessarily new cases. That's just new cases you guys tested for that tested
Confirmed.
positive.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes, I've been saying this also.
Which then ties into so much sensationalism that I'm just like, yo, this is just a vicious cycle. It's like,
right.
Let me give you an example, and I'll use myself as an example. If I start going to the gym, if I start skating, I'm trying to do that shit like every single day possible. I'm seeing instant results, you know, through muscle memory and just sheer pushing myself in terms of skating. It's like trying to learn a new trick or get a different trick or a trick I know better. I'm seeing results right away.
Right.
The second I stop doing it and I take a day or two off, I throw my whole regimen off. Mm-hmm. Where then I won't go to the gym or skate for like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Right.
And then I start feeling, you know, grumpy and frumpy and whatever, just like not operating that well.
Slumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people, especially right now, it's a vicious cycle of media and way too much news and fear-mongering. Where everyone is sitting at home or checking their phone every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a new update about this and that related to COVID or Trump. And it's like, Yo, you guys are digging your own hole.
Off top. Yeah, everybody's got time for the bullshit right now.
Yeah.
People are hitting that refresh button like never before right now. And, yeah, I mean, like we said, worry and concern and things like that are not good for your immune system. It's not good for your overall health. It's not good for your mentality. You know, we're going to see a lot of mental health issues come out of this as well, I think. People that are, you know, possibly agoraphobic, scared of crowds after this all subsides because they haven't been out in public in weeks, months, you know, haven't been to a crowded place.
Therapists are about to make bucks.
Lots.
We should start investing in Prozac right now.
Oh, man. I don't really fuck with the pharma.
I don't either.
I try not to.
But I'm trying to make some money.
You're right.
And let's be real. Let's just look at the trajectory of where that's going to go.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, Gilead, that's the one that you want to invest in right now. They're the ones that say they're going to make the vaccine first. But, you know, I mean, think about the evil, too, of the fact that, like, studies on things like this, coronaviruses, has gone on in the past, and it's been publicly funded by tax dollars, right? Like, the vast majority of the foundation of this research has been funded by tax money. And yet, they're saying that the vaccine and the treatment, when it does become available, may not be affordable to the average person.
So basically the rich and famous that are getting the test now are going to be the only ones to be able to get the vaccine.
Probably so, yeah.
That's fucked up.
Right.
I mean,
so,
I'm
yeah.
not necessarily surprised, but it's still fucked.
No, I'm not surprised at all. This is the way we do things in this country.
Right.
That's the way we do things in the world, more or less. I mean, capitalism and globalism, that shit is just evil every time.
For the most part, yeah.
I mean...
For the top tier, at least.
Yeah, totally. Like, you know, you and I are not evil for living in a capitalist society, but the people that exploit us for our labor definitely are. Or the people that are exploiting them, that, you know, as you get higher and higher up the food chain, it's just more and more evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right. Historically, yeah.
And it's unnatural. I mean, think of like the alphas of any other species, right? Like, they work the hardest.
Right.
They're the leaders because they could do the most. They're the best hunters. They're the best foragers. They're the best, you know, the best at keeping the cycle running.
Well, I mean, I think it's still that way, but the value being put on just physical, it's like society as a whole, our culture particularly, has started to work smarter instead of harder. And that is what has become more valuable. And I guess not just more valuable, but can produce more in terms of money, in terms of a gross domestic product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, sucks, but it is what it is.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to even... Like, shit's finally hitting the fan for my mom right now, for example, because she just lost her job, I think, in part because of Corona.
Yeah.
Because they started doing layoffs. And she's all stressed out about it. And I'm like, but you hated your job.
Right.
You complained about your job literally for years.
Right.
Like, did you really expect them to just, like, put up with your shit? Did you think you were irreplaceable? Like, welcome to the real world in 2020.
Right.
Where, yeah, they will hire someone that's, like, 27 years old, fresh out of college.
Right.
To just take your job.
Right.
And that's that.
Yeah. And they don't even really take your job. They take your workload for less money.
Right.
Exactly. That's what really goes on. And that's why people have become more and more disposable.
Mm-hmm.
Is because there's somebody young and dumb that can do it well enough for less money.
Well, no, but they'll probably even do it even better because they're younger, they have more energy, and they're hungrier, you know?
Sure, but experience still counts for something.
Absolutely. But it depends on the employer to value or not that experience.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's what it comes down to. That's the unfortunate part about capitalism, is when people start paying attention to the dollar signs versus the human resources as the most key and crucial resource that they have.
Yeah.
I can't believe I remember that. That's like one thing I remember from college, from my HR class, and I was like, human resources isn't just where you go to complain about shit.
Right.
They're literally managing humans as a resource.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. I mean, until AI takes over completely, humans are still necessary. You still got to have somebody to do it. You can have the best idea out, but if you can't do it alone, it's just not going to happen unless you hire some help.
Right.
And it's got to be people that are maybe not equally as dedicated to your dream, but people that believe in it enough, or that just feel like they're treated well enough that they're willing to do it. And everybody has their breaking point, or they're supposed to, but we also live in a society where you have to have money. And, you know, the work that people do to survive really doesn't have anything to do with survival most of the time. Like, it doesn't produce food, it doesn't create shelter, it doesn't purify water, it doesn't sew clothing. It generates money that allows you to pay somebody else to do those things for you. And when you realize that, like, we're all trapped in this system because we don't have any real autonomy. Like, the majority of people couldn't survive without a job, even in like a wilderness situation. Even if you buy your own piece of property and, you know, you own it outright, you still have to figure out where you're getting food. You still have to figure out water supply. You still have to figure out electricity, energy, you know, whatever for the place that you live. And the vast majority of people just aren't equipped to do that.
Right.
And so how do you ever escape the cycle? How do you ever get out of it?
I do not know.
You got to learn how to do those things.
I know, but it's like, try telling exponentially more and more people every single day. Try explaining it to them why it's important to still know how to, like, I don't know, even like wipe your ass with a leaf instead of toilet paper. Like, that could be crucial right now. You know what I'm saying?
Wipe it with your hands. That'll make you wash your hands.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch how much people wash their hands for 20 seconds if they wipe their ass with it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, you're right. I'm just trying to make a point in the sense that right now the population more and more is moving to urban areas again.
Right.
And away from agriculture, away from suburbs.
Right.
So it's like viruses like this are going to become more and more deadly.
Right.
Because if we have many more people living on top of one another like we do, let's say, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Then
we're living in a wet market, if you think of it. I mean, you know, the crowding conditions in those places, or even in just like animal agriculture, it's just like living in a city.
Yeah.
You know? Keep 6 feet of distance when you're in New York City. Like, how? I live, like, my bed is 10 feet from another person's bed.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, you kind of can. Like, unless you ride the trains all the time,
to a degree.
You can.
Yeah, but like, what I'm saying, there's just like not that much extra space here. That's why people are having to stay home. That's why, like, they got to shut things down, because there's not a bar or a restaurant big enough where they can have their capacity crowd and still keep that distance between people.
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess, yeah, we are known as a city that has dining tables that are like that big for like 4 people.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting times.
Well, all you got to do is make smaller plates.
True. Which could also probably help with the obesity problem, which is a hot topic when it comes to diabetes and fucking with people's immune systems
Sure.
in present day COVID-19 times.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, overall health and, just physical fitness plays a role in the immune system as well. If you have all the extra weight on your chest of being overweight and, you lay down at night, go to bed, and you can only expand your chest half of what it should be able to do when you're breathing, shit can collect in there a little bit better, I would think. I mean, it seems logical. Yeah, shed the extra pounds. Eat a salad instead of a burger. See how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like eating this vegan diet. Like I really don't try to preach it to people because, one of the main points of veganism is not to cause suffering for any other living creature. That includes humans. Okay, like I'm not gonna press you about it. We can talk about it as much or as little as you want, but I'm not gonna be the one to just force it down your throat, right? But, I've noticed that, and I was never like obese, but I've definitely become leaner and feel stronger and just have like, a better overall level of fitness, I think, since cutting out the elements of my diet, like, meat, cheese, eggs, things that are like higher protein content than you probably need unless you're exercising a lot. If you're trying to be a bodybuilder, then yeah, maybe you need to eat like meat and whatever else that would like contribute to weight gain. But like, milk, for example, that's designed to take a baby calf and turn it into a 600-pound cow within like 6 months. So what do you think it's going to do to you?
Damn. I've never heard that, but that makes sense. That's
It's got point. Actual growth hormones in it to begin with. Never mind the hormones that are pumped into the cow at the farm, the antibiotics, the vaccines, and everything that are in that. And then also, the animal dies in terror when it's going into the slaughterhouse. And all the endorphins and adrenaline and everything that's released into the tissue through the bloodstream during that, where do you think that goes when they carve it up?
Right.
You eat that.
So that can't be cooked out, right?
I
imagine.
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Again, I'm not a scientist, but like, unless you're putting it in a Bunsen burner and like trying to separate the strip it down to the component parts, like I wouldn't think so.
Right.
You'd have to really cook the hell out of it, I think, to get those things to vaporize.
No, of course. Yeah, I feel like, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I've read plenty about it. I just don't remember exactly how that works in terms of, there's like stress hormones that get released.
Yeah.
Right? Cortisol. I think that.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
Well, cortisol is the stress hormone that the human brain releases.
Okay.
But I feel like it's the same thing when it comes to like chickens and cows.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you make the connection, like if they can feel fear and so can we, then yeah, it's probably something pretty similar. Think of how you would feel if you were being forced to stand in line or pushed off a truck into something that's going to like slit your throat.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you got to think though.
You're not going to be smiling.
But cows aren't as smart as humans. That's where I start to think, like, do you think they really know? I mean, I guess they must. I feel like probably through evolution now too, like they see their brother cow.
Right.
And it's moving. And then before they know it, brother cow is being fucking hooked onto a meat cleaver.
Right.
And pulled away to get de-skinned.
Right.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they recognize.
Maybe when they're on the farm, they don't know. Maybe when they're in the truck, they don't know. But when they get to the slaughterhouse, they know. And even if it is only for those last couple minutes, like, that heart rate's got to be going a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And pumping that shit into every nook and cranny of that body. And I mean, if you're interested to do it, you can find footage of this and see where they're like struggling and not wanting to go into these rooms and areas where they're going to be slaughtered. Like, they know what's up. Animals, every animal has like a fight or flight instinct.
Right.
And every animal can sense danger. Every animal can sense when something's not right, regardless of intelligence. It's the same reason that a fly knows to move when you're about to swat it.
Valid.
Think of the size of the brain on that, you know? A fly's not the smartest, but it knows how to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very binary little insect.
Right.
And fucking annoying. Well, okay, so you... To... I guess go in a different direction. You work in...
Yeah, please, let's do that.
Yo, fuck COVID.
We don't have to spend this whole time talking about the ills of society and things that make us fat, sick, and stupid.
But it's kind of fun.
It is kind of fun, and it's, you know, never a bad time to, if not educate yourself about it, then at least consider it and speculate about things like this. You know, like, I don't subscribe to every conspiracy theory, but I like to listen to them. Because, like, you know, the official explanation is one side of the story. And then there are always other sides. And you follow paper trails and you follow just logic and reason, and it leads you to different conclusions sometimes. So, yeah, I mean...
Do you think Epstein killed himself?
I think he's probably still alive.
Yeah. I haven't even thought about that variant.
I mean, the guy's got enough money and enough powerful friends.
Right.
And you're going to tell me that the camera cut off and the guard wasn't there at the moment that this shit happened?
But have you seen his cellmate?
I've not seen the cellmate.
Holy shit. His cellmate was a dirty cop from, I think it was Long Island or Staten Island or like Jersey, some shit.
Yep.
Dirty cop that was probably like 350 pounds.
Yeah.
Like a fucking beast. Like a straight up bull that apparently... So he got locked up for homicide. I think multiple murders, whatever.
Okay.
This fucking dude, I don't necessarily know the details of it, but I'm pretty sure the way they put it, when they came to arrest him, they found... there was rumors that he had buried bodies on his property.
Yeah.
And then so when the investigators started snooping around in the bushes, they found one body, so they keep on digging, and they move a bush, and they see a hand still popped up out of the dirt because he was too sloppy when it came to burying one of the other bodies.
Wow.
So that's who they put Epstein in a cell with.
Wow.
And that's why the whole conspiracy is like, yeah, he definitely didn't kill himself. It was this fuck that definitely choked him out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect way to carry out a plan if you're trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those two things in my mind. Yeah, he's either in Paraguay somewhere with an assumed name or was murdered by his cellmate. But why would he hang himself? Why, you know, like, what would be the point?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like everyone says, like you said, way too powerful, way too much money.
Right.
He could definitely get even, like, the most beast facial reconstructive surgery and just, like, look like someone else. I'm sure you could buy a passport still, whatever.
Yeah.
Anywho, what I was going to ask before, you work in the fashion industry.
Yeah, well, I did.
I feel like we will again.
Yeah, maybe.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's going to be an influx of video content still being pushed out that, like, okay, so you do set design, but do you ever work on video content outside of skateboarding videos?
Not really.
No.
Not much. You know, here and there. But, you know, like what I was saying before about working on your own visions, like, I don't have a problem working in set design and carrying out somebody else's plan because I'll keep it funky with you. Like, I don't give a rat's ass what the set looks like. It's not a concern to me at all. Like, I'm there to do the job semi-mindlessly. and just get paid. Like, this is just a handy way to pay the bills without having to work all that often. Once I start getting into commercial film work, and it's something that maybe my name is going to be attached to, like, I would be a little more concerned about, like, what is going to be the final product of this? Will this reflect well on me? Will this be something that I'm proud of? And that's like a level of stress that I don't necessarily care to bring into it when it's somebody else's vision. And if it's not something that I personally believe in, which maybe it would be, you know, I have been hired to work on other projects that I've truly enjoyed, but like, it's not, you know, it's hard for me also to do something that I'm passionate about as a job, because then it's work. Then it's something that I have to do. It's not something that I want to do anymore. And it's like a skill that I enjoy using, but this might not have been my way of applying it. And when it becomes just a way of paying the bills, and like, I got to show up at said time and do said thing for somebody else, like, I'm not as intrigued by that. And like, yeah, there is probably a better day rate involved, but it's something that I would be thinking about beforehand. It's something that I would be thinking about after the fact. It's something that like I would have to be a lot more fixated while I'm in the process. And I'm just not necessarily intrigued to do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
That's understandable. Because it kind of like you lose the sanctity.
Yeah, totally.
Here, point the mic a little bit up. There we go.
How's that for you?
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with the creative pursuits, like, and I've been lucky that any of the skateboarding projects that I've done for brands, not just personal, you know, I'm kind of hired or brought in because they want me to do it my way. I'm not directed as to like, this is what we want, this is how we want you to do it. I still maintain the creative control and vision, and you know, it's a collaboration with whoever else is involved, but nobody's really over my shoulder while I'm shooting or editing or, you know, trying to supervise the process or tell me like, I think you should do it like this instead. And, you know, I'm not above criticism and input, and in fact, I really enjoy it, but, you know, I like to take it into consideration more than just take it as law.
I like that.
Creative process, man.
Yeah.
It can be a really beautiful thing. And it can be a really ugly thing.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing about this day and age is that I feel like a lot of companies do that these days. Like a lot of companies just want to be not just companies. Let me rephrase. A lot of brands, they want to be associated with what's cool. Right. So they'll literally just like stamp their name or their logo onto something just to be associated with it. Right. Which I guess is also why we have like a whole influencer culture. Yeah. You know, beyond even just social media. It's like I've seen a couple samples of this in present time where someone will just literally they'll fund a branded content project and then in the credits it'll be like sponsored by Friendlies. You know what I mean? It's just like literally they're like, yeah, we respect storytelling versus putting like drilling our logo into your brain by showing it 12 times in this video. You know? Right. Yeah, I like that. I respect that a lot. Yeah. Because then like I guess even with as big of a budget and as corporate as Mountain Dew is, I feel like even in Ty Evans' We Are Blood, you didn't even see it that much. It was almost more about like, holy shit, like look at this footage with like a drone or with this crazy camera setup,
Right.
and then every once in a while you'll see like a Mountain Dew logo on a cap,
Right.
or like someone drinking a Mountain Dew in the van.
Yeah. Yeah, that project actually is a good example of where, like, certainly there was a compromise made where I'm sure he was instructed to put some subtle branding into it, but I would imagine that he also was given a lot of creative license to tell that story the way that it truly is. It's not, I didn't see anything really inaccurate about that film, other than the fact that, like, average Joe Blow doesn't go out skating with a jib and a dolly kit and a drone and multiple red cameras, but the stories are the same whether you're filming it with that or you're filming it with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's one of the beautiful things about skateboarding is that, like, across cultures and across continents, it's essentially the same experience for everybody.
Right.
And, we all deal with nature, the elements. We all deal with police and security. We all deal with the personal frustration of just not being able to make the trick happen. We all deal with, at some point or other, the search for a new spot, something that we haven't been to yet, breaking new ground. And I think he kind of covered all of that in that film. And, the name is maybe kind of corny, but, like, it's accurate, though. Like, we're kind of all in the same gang. And, in my experience of, like, going to other cities, other states, other countries, other continents, and being around other skaters, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And, we all kind of get it, like, at a certain point. Not everybody is tapped in to the same degree, but, like, if you've been around long enough and you kind of are, like, in touch with the vibe, like...
Yeah, if you know, you know.
You get it, yeah. If you know, you know. I mean, at the same time, like, you can go to Owl's Head Park and watch somebody, like, go down the roll-in, push across the flat, and fly out of a 6-foot quarter pipe over a cone laying down and then go into a fence immediately. And, like, that shit is hilarious to me. But it's also sick because, like, that's that person's concept of skateboarding. And, like, I can't tell them it's wrong. Like, if you're having fun at it and you're not just catching wreck every time, like, that's cool. Like, do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy.
I'm glad you said that we're all in it together in terms of how skateboarders, I guess, skateboarding as a lifestyle is very much homogenous across continents, cultures, so on and so forth. And I feel like skaters are probably the most resilient and ready for a time like what we're going through right now with a global pandemic. Because we're familiar with social distancing.
Sure.
It's like that's literally part of our hobby. We might meet up and dab some people up,
right.
But then we're like, moving units, never really close to one another.
Right.
We're not always the most loved people where it's like, we're still, as popular as it is, it's still a subculture. So it's like kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
And even if it's not frowned upon, it's like it's still different enough.
Right.
That, like, we're doing our own thing. And then I also feel like we have that solidarity. Like, we've been knowing what solidarity is in terms of, looking out for one another, looking out for ourselves, trying to turn shit into gold.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are missing these days.
Yeah.
That's why they have to refer
Right.
to things like Amazon and Netflix, and without it, they can't survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for us, it's like, this isn't shit. Like, especially those of us that aren't immunodeficient, and the ones that those of us that are doing just fine, at least, like, health wise, we have some food and we have a roof, and maybe like 2 months rent lined up.
Yeah.
we're so much better off than even the fuck that's like making $125 a year, working in a marketing company that's like complaining about working from home
Right.
and walking his dog. It's like
Right.
priorities are out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we even maybe have an immune advantage because think of how many times in a day you touch something that's been all over the ground and you've been putting your feet all over. And then, you know, I usually try to be good about this, but how many times do you do that and then just like go eat a sandwich?
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
don't
yeah.
wash your hands in between.
But even not even
You know what I
eating
mean?
a
Like,
sandwich,
your
it's like
antibodies are up probably.
yeah, or like
begin
even when
with.
you reach for your water bottle, it's like your hands are fucking dusty and half black.
Right.
You're touching the bottle cap,
Right.
and probably without even knowing it, you're touching the lip of the bottle,
Yeah.
and then putting it to your lips and drinking
Right.
it.
Wipe your face on your shirt 50 times.
Exactly.
Do this
Yeah.
over and over. You
All
know?
the time. And I mean,
sweat
like,
off your nose. How many times? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
you know too, especially because I used to wear glasses. You wear glasses.
yeah.
You know how it is when you're constantly doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Always touching your face.
Yeah. I used to, for everybody that wears glasses out there, I don't have them right now, but I used to put rubber bands on the backs right here, and that would keep them up. I sweated enough that they wore out, and now they're not there anymore. Oh, damn, I got a spot. You didn't even tell me that.
I can't see it. I doubt the camera can see it.
I hit it with the cloth right now. But yeah, you know, I think, what you're saying about the community aspect and working together, coming together across boundaries, is something that's been in us for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm very thankful for skateboarding because I've had friends from all walks of life and all backgrounds through that I may have never met otherwise. And as a result of that, it kind of made me start to think like, okay, if I have something in common with this person that seems to be totally different from me, maybe I have something in common with this other person that doesn't skate. And like, you kind of learn through that lens that I think most people are more similar than they are different to begin with. You know, we all live on Earth. We all breathe the same air. We all eat food. We all drink water. It's, you know, there's nothing new under the sun, really. Like, we're all kind of in this together. And I would hope that if any real change in society comes out of this pandemic, it's that people realizing that, you know, what's bad for one person is kind of bad for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you do things that impact any group, eventually it spreads and it trickles outward, and you know, it's not a good thing. It's not good to repress one group for the good of another.
Right.
Or to neglect one group for the good of another, because eventually something goes wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You want to cut a budget to a pandemic squad, and then look what happens. You know what I mean? Made sense in the moment. We thought it was a good idea. Let us buy more tanks. Well, can you deploy a tank against a virus? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, it's a shame. And I mean, I talk about this so often. I've talked about it on this podcast before. Community is so crucial to survival for human beings.
Oh, yeah.
The utmost crucial thing.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can work out, you can treat yourself to the finest of foods.
Right.
That obviously takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, if you're sick and you don't have anyone that can bring you your food,
Mm-hmm.
you're fucked.
Right.
And that's the most important.
I mean, you know, also, like, we have people that every person on Earth relies upon, which are the food harvesters. And without them, what are any of us? You know, you can have all the money in the world, but if nobody's growing the food, what are you going to do? Where are you going to get it from? You know, you can be as rich as you want, but it's not going to feed you. You're still relying on somebody that makes pennies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another like huge injustice in my mind, that like, you know, migrant workers, people from Mexico will come and work in California farms and get paid pennies on the dollar and can't get citizenship and can't, you know, make a real life for themselves, but they're literally sustaining the life of so many other people.
That's a sad truth.
It's horrible. It's evil.
Yeah. Luckily, things are probably changing at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks to technology, because I don't know if you've seen this new, like, it's been popping up on my social media feed for this new app called Leveler.
Mm-mm.
So I think what Leveler is basically, it's like, its whole premise, its whole mission statement is to try to like level the playing field, or the financial, I don't know, like the income bracket per se.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to word it properly, but basically it's like, for example, right now a lot of restaurants, they can't have their people working for them.
Right.
So what they're doing is starting not only GoFundMe's but Leveler accounts, so that people that like the restaurant, people that hear about the suffering that's going on to these people that they can't work, they can't make any money, it's like, all right, well, here's your chance to level the financial playing field, like donate to this person, that person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like if you really appreciate them, which is like, it's weird. It's almost like it's almost like OnlyFans for like cooking or,
Yeah.
you know, restaurant
Yeah.
employees. But I mean, it's a start.
I mean, it's socialism. It's redistribution of wealth.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
This
which,
fucking
like,
caffeine is not working for my wording. Redistribution of wealth is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I think it's something that, like, you know, we've been taught from such a young age that, you know, you work hard and you get yours, and you don't have to share it with anybody because you worked for it. And, you know, then you find yourself in a situation like this, and like, okay, so if all your favorite bars and restaurants close, now what are you going to do with that money that you worked so hard for? Like, you can't spend it on the things you enjoy anymore.
Right.
Right? If your favorite clothing brand goes out of business because a lot of people don't have disposable cash, and, you know, they have no way to make their ends meet, now you got to figure out what you want to wear instead. You know, Airbnbs right now, like, these people that own them are just going ape shit because nobody's staying in any of them right now. People are holding down multiple leases in the same city just so that they can have these income properties, and they're all just sitting dormant right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, that's like a whole other issue with like housing being held from people that would actually want to live in the neighborhoods.
Right.
That's, you know, like, they're just making a low-cost hotel for personal gain instead of allowing people to actually live and exist in these communities. But like, hotels are inflated too, so it's like, where does the truth lie in that? You know, where do you find the good balance? Because for a traveler, for somebody that goes, you know, on domestic or international trips, like, staying in an Airbnb versus staying in a hotel could be the difference between being able to take the trip or not.
Right.
In real terms, like, if you don't have it in the budget to stay in a hotel for 10 nights, you might only go on the trip for 5, or you just might not go at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a tricky one. That's, like you said, that's like a whole different topic.
That's a very tricky one. I don't know. The last Airbnb I stayed in, you want to hear a story? You want to hear a little anecdote? In January of this year, I was in Athens, Greece with Lurker Lou, Greg Huff, Zeb Wiseman was there for a couple nights.
Oh, Oh, this is where you had the anti-Airbnb,
Yeah.
like was it refugees or?
Yeah, there's refugees. So we were staying in this neighborhood called Exarchia in Athens. And this neighborhood has been the center of civil and social unrest in Athens since, I think, the 60s, maybe the 70s. And it's also kind of one of the last safe havens for refugees from the Middle East and other places that, can't live in their native land. And now, due to new restrictions in the European Union, they can't get any farther than Greece. So, Greece used to kind of be like the conduit. That would be like the stopover point, and then they would go elsewhere, whatever other nation, and set up shop. But now they're stuck in Greece. They're mostly not allowed to work. Any kind of public programs, public funding, social safety net is not usually available to these people, and they can't go back where they're from. So what are they going to do? Like, eventually you turn to a lawless life of crime, basically, like, because you're not just going to lay down and die. You're not going to not eat. You're not going to not survive.
Right.
Like,
fight or flight.
You do what you got to do. Yeah, fight or flight, totally. And they've executed hostile takeovers of about 15 apartment buildings in this neighborhood and squatted them out. And then some of them live in tents that are up in the mountains near this neighborhood. And then some of them just live in Exarchia Square, which is basically the headquarters of this entire culture and community. And it was also directly across the street from the Airbnb that we were staying in. And shout out Greg Huff, because he booked this place, and he didn't know. He didn't know any of the background on this. And I don't blame him, because, it's like the time that I went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras by accident one time. It's like, if you're not in this, you wouldn't really know about it. Like, who in New York City knows when Mardi Gras is?
March? May?
It changes every year.
Oh, I thought it was the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's exactly my point. You don't fucking... I don't know most of the time. Like, I got friends down there that sometimes I find out, like, on the day. That, like, I watched their story. Oh, it's Mardi Gras. Like, when I'm planning a trip, I don't know about this. Mm-hmm. And that's just, like, ignorance on my part. But also, like, it's not something that's foremost in my mind. And, like, would I necessarily research the entire history and cultural... milieu of a neighborhood that I'm going to go stay in on Airbnb, or am I just looking at something that's like pretty centrally located and affordable? Mm-hmm. And that's what he did, is like, he picked a good location, and it was cheap, and it was a nice place too. But every night around 8 p.m. Oh, and by the way, these people have also invented a drug called Sisa, which is like based in methamphetamine, but also has like battery acid and shampoo and like a couple other ingredients in it. So every night they get kind of tuned up on that, and then they start lighting dumpsters on fire. They're setting off flash bombs and like hooting and hollering and doing all this stuff in the square. And like, they don't really mean anybody any harm, I don't think, but they're kind of just making their presence known. And one night, probably about 6 or 7 days into the trip, Huff's out on the balcony, and every room in this apartment had a balcony that you can just look out. You can be out in the open air and look out onto the square. And he's recording a video of a guy setting the dumpster on fire, and somebody else, the guy's friend, I guess, or whoever he knew, came up behind him and like pointed out Huff, and then they start throwing rocks at the Airbnb.
Holy shit.
And this went on for about maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and there were probably 10 or 15 direct hits to the windows of the building. And they're hitting like the metal air conditioner on the outside and like all this stuff. It's like pinging off every surface out there.
Did they break any windows?
They did not break any windows. There wasn't any like permanent damage even. But you know, we spoke to the host and they were like, yeah, you know, we thought this could become an issue eventually. I think we're going to install some bars on the windows or do something to, you know, because a lot of these places now have retractable bars or retractable metal shutters that you can put down in the event of like the building going under siege like that. Because who knows how far they might have wanted to take it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If a window would have been open, would they have tossed a flash bomb into the place? Mm-hmm. Like, maybe so, maybe no. But, you know, and the next day, like, it all blew over. And I think probably somebody in the neighborhood called the police because after that, like, 20-minute period or so, there was nobody in the square. I think they probably rolled hard after that. And also, like, Riot Squad is just kind of on standby in that zone all the time. You just see them posted up. Just waiting for it to go down. But, you know, my takeaway from that was like, these people didn't really mean us any harm in particular. They're kind of just like trying to live their lives and probably don't want to be made a spectacle. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, like, the way I look at it is we, as the tenants of the Airbnb, kind of have more in common with the Exarchians than people may realize. Because, like, you know, the difference between my cushy lifestyle and living outside is just like a matter of a few paychecks, really. Like, if you get into a scenario where you're no longer allowed to work, similar to what we're all in right now, like, eventually you're going to start feeling the pinch. And what happens next? You know, do you choose to go live outside, or do you squat in your apartment and say, I'm on rent strike, I'm not paying? Mm-hmm. And do you choose not to eat, or do you go loot a grocery store? You know, if enough people can't afford food, what do you think's going to happen?
Right.
There's supposed to be a walkout at Whole Foods today.
Yeah, I saw that.
You heard about this? Yeah. And tomorrow is April 1st. Who knows how many people are going to pay rent or not pay rent? There's that bill in the New York State legislature right now.
I don't think it's passed yet, though.
It hasn't passed, no. It's passed the Senate and the House. It's in the Assembly right now, and then it has to go before the governor. And we all should probably be calling the governor and telling him, like, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, my landlord doesn't know this yet. I'm not planning on dropping that check in the box tomorrow.
Really?
Hell no.
Well, but my thing...
Nobody move, nobody get hurt, man. Why would I put the money out right now when I don't have money coming in? What would be the point? There's a freeze on foreclosures. There's a freeze on evictions. What's my incentive to pay right now?
Well, is it a freeze or a suspension? Because I'm pretty sure, like, from what I've read, it's not a full expulsion of payments for 90 days for landlords. So, like,
But any lost wages from that, they can adjust their mortgage payments. So if they're not collecting rent from people in the building, then they don't have to pay that portion to...
Oh, I see. Okay. I was confused because from what I've read...
That's my understanding of it. I've read the bill. You know, I'm not a lawyer either, as well as not being a doctor nor a scientist.
Yeah.
I'm also not a lawyer, but I do read these things, and I do have Instagram and YouTube like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, you know, my political science and legalese is, you know, maybe growing, maybe being misinformed. But I've read the bill. Seems as though... for this 90-day period, which theoretically could be extended also if this continues to go on, they're not going to be held responsible for what they can claim as losses from this.
I see.
So in a way, it kind of incentivizes them not to try to collect it, not to make a thing of it, because, you know, why be on the wrong side of history here? Like, if people have to make the choice between paying rent and eating, how are you going to tell him to pay rent?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
damn, I already sent my roommate a Venmo.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I mean, you know, and I'm the leaseholder at my apartment, and, you know, I've already collected the month of rent from one of the tenants because he actually just moved in a couple weeks ago. And so, you know, that was basically, you know, you can move in if you pay the rent. But it's going to stay in my account, and it'll be counted toward whatever is the first month that is paid when he lives in the apartment. And my other roommate, you know, she can decide whether she wants to pay it or not, I guess. I mean, I trust her. I have the security deposit from her too. And like, you know, if I'm not paying, I'm not paying. So why would I force her? You know what I mean? She's not able to work right now. She's a college student anyway. She goes to NYU, doesn't have a job, but, you know, has money that is socked away somewhere. You know, whatever way of paying the rent, it's a fixed amount, and she doesn't have a way of making more money right now. The other guy that just moved in works from home right now. He does tech support, so he's able to work. I don't really feel too much guilt about taking that from him, also because of the reason I said, because that's like, you know, what do I just have somebody move in for free off Craigslist? Like, no, you don't do that.
Right.
But I'm not going to charge next month's rent if I'm not paying this. I'm not going to charge the month after that. For as long as rent is not being paid, why would I charge these people? You know, I'm not just going to build up my own little stockpile and use it as my little piggy bank. You know, why, you know, and I'm not going to put these people out in the cold either. I'm not going to tell them, like, no, you can't live here if you don't pay. Like, why would I do that?
Right. Interesting.
This is a time when, as we've said over and over, like, people got to work together. You got to figure out aspects of community, and we have to, like, one hand got to wash the other right now. And everybody should be washing their hands. So,
actually, no, don't wash other people's hands. Wash your own.
I mean, I think if you got good enough soap, you could wash somebody else's hands.
If they don't know how to do it themselves. So children, the mentally challenged, the elderly. Right. Actually, stay the fuck away from the elderly.
Right.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's complicated. It's all very complicated. But, yeah, I mean, but to return to the original point about us versus the Exarchians, like, their real enemy should be the people that rented us the Airbnb that's turning that into a tourist destination. You know? It's not us. We're not the ones that are guilty for being ignorant to the facts of life over there. It's people that know what the facts are and try
exploit them.
And try to make this into a destination for tourists that may or may not be educated on what's up.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes the case, but then there's other cases where, like, a couple of years ago, I went through a breakup, and I couldn't get out of my lease. And she moved states, so I was stuck with a lease for a one-bedroom and no income. Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Luckily,
that's tricky.
Yeah. So, and mind you, I also had a Barcelona trip lined up, so I was like, I'm just going to lose money if I don't go, because I'm going to have to cancel that airplane, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I came back from Barcelona, and luckily, through, you know Justin Hogan?
Yeah.
Luckily,
Thanks,
through
camera.
Hogan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately enough, I know him, and he's a good enough human to be like, yo, I heard you're looking for a job. Like, my company's hiring.
Sick.
And he hooked me up with a job.
Is that Complex?
No. That was after Complex. He went to VH1. He got me a job there.
Copy.
And literally my first week at VH1 was his last before he moved away to LA.
Wow.
But anywho,
pass the torch.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I wish. I mean, he had a way higher position than me.
Oh, yeah.
But either way.
Well, nonetheless, he got you in the door and, you know.
Yeah.
Took care of you to some degree.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, you know,
Very thankful.
That's what we got to do for the people we care about, man.
What was I saying though?
You had the 1 bedroom. And
Yeah. So when I got back from Barcelona, it was on a Saturday. The next day I was like, I don't have any other options because I don't have money, and it's about to be February 1st. Like, I just paid my rent, but now I got to figure out, like, after I pay rent, I have $200 left in my name. What the fuck am I going to do for February?
Right.
And so I started thinking, like, okay, I guess I'll just go to IKEA and get, like, a bed frame. Like, make it nice so I could rent it out on Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And I booked up my apartment for, like, a month and a half. 2 days later, I went in for an interview and got the job at VH1.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because that spring, it was like, yeah, I finally have a real job, you know, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I'm also having to still crash on my friends' couches.
Right.
Because I don't want to cancel on Airbnb and all these other people.
Right.
That are coming to my spot.
Right.
And, you know, it was what it was. Like, I had to do it. But that's like.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. But that's one of those.
That's actually a very smart thing. What you did there, I would say.
Sort of, but it was technically
that's pretty
illegal.
savvy. Well, you know, legality doesn't determine morality.
No, for sure. Well, it's like ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Right.
That's kind of what I did.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of things legal in history that weren't right.
Right.
And there's been a lot of things illegal that weren't wrong.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, so I think there's like.
I mean, yeah. What were you supposed to
outliers.
do? What was your other option? Squat, don't pay, force an eviction.
Right. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know
well,
what I
I'm sure
mean?
my
Like-
landlord would have been like, "Well, sorry."
Right.
It's like, bro, I just lived here 13 months straight.
Yeah.
Every single month you had your rent.
Tell him, well, sorry. Eviction process takes 6 months to a year most of the time in New York City. You live in
Oh, that's
any
good to know.
place. You live in any place for 30 days without permission, you can claim squatters' rights.
Right.
That makes everything exponentially harder for the landlord. Most likely, you would get paid to leave
Yeah.
because they don't want to go through the legal process. People make like 80,000 plus being evicted.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why the fuck I'm paying rent.
I don't know why any of us are.
I guess it just takes balls to do that then.
That's it.
I might
But
have
if
to-
enough people do it, then what?
Yeah. Then it's going to be a real socialist state.
If the legal system is so choked with all these eviction cases, if it already takes 6 months to a year to get through the process, and that's with the legal system at the current level of the number of evictions, if everybody just said, we're not paying rent, how many years do you think it would take to actually get an eviction served?
I feel like they would just go to different. They would follow a different protocol. It'd be like an emergency protocol.
Change the regulations?
Oh, I think they'd just straight up start like breaking down doors and arresting people and putting them in cells, and then.
Well, maybe, but where are all these cells?
That's a good
How
point.
do you even,
Yeah.
And that's free housing too.
Yeah.
If you're in there with a bunch of white collar criminals that just didn't want to pay rent, this is almost like a dream now.
It's like a big dorm.
Turn the prison into a commune, player.
Yeah, I guess so. Be a fucked up commune.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is not the best option, but basically my point in that is recognize the facts, landlord. Like, you don't want to go through this process. Nobody wants this smoke. Like, why don't we just work together on this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to put you in the position where you feel you have to evict me. So why don't we just come to an understanding right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to my roommate after this. But, like, see, the thing is, there's also a lot of people like my roommate and myself where we're in the situation where we've been grandfathered into a lease.
Uh-huh.
Because he's been there. You know Matt Schleier?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
is that
live
your
with
roommate?
Matt. Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so I live with Matt.
He got clips in the Co video.
Oh, I know. The shit from Flushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Supreme.
A1.
Yeah. Anyways, he was telling me that he moved into the apartment that we live in right now, like years ago. Before that, his brother lived in there.
Yeah.
So it's like we have a $3,000 4-bedroom in Clinton Hill. There's like
pretty
pretty much
good.
no one that has that.
That's pretty good.
You know, mind you, we have a room open if anyone needs one.
Okay.
Let me know.
What's the rent? It ain't a quarter of 3,000, I bet.
$600.
That's pretty good.
It's like a cell size room with no window.
Word.
So, but hey, $600.
That's
First in
decent,
security,
man.
dude. First in security is all you need to move in. You have
Yeah.
clean roommates that all. Well, can't say I'm employed anymore, but I
Right.
still do shit. I'm still like
Right.
I'm here most of the time, anyways.
You're
just
not
skating.
employed, but you're employable.
Yeah, exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm productive.
Right.
I get shit done.
Right. You had a job.
Yeah. What was I saying? But yeah, so we've been grandfathered into this lease, where now it's like there's always going to be that fear where if we like test the landlord, what if he like switches it up on us and then tries to start to like evict us, tries to do shiesty shit to get us to move out so that he can flip the place or raise the rent on us like in August whenever the lease ends, to try to raise the rent on us by like, you know, an unforeseeable amount that's just totally unfair, but is perhaps illegally fair because it's market value,
Right.
which is going to be way more than what we're paying now. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess in that case, maybe you would ask him, like, how much more do you really think you'll get for this place if we move out? Will somebody actually move in and pay what you're going to ask in this neighborhood, in this economy?
Yeah.
Because guess what? Like, if he forces you out and he's trying to charge that much more for it, maybe it's going to sit vacant for a while.
Yeah.
And he might as well have just not got rent from you instead of not get rent for it at all.
Exactly.
And then keep trying and trying and trying to get somebody in there.
Yeah.
He knows that you guys live there already, and I would assume you don't have issues. I would assume that, you know, if he's not trying to kick you out currently, he doesn't have a problem with you being there.
Right.
So that's basically what a landlord wants, is a good tenant that in normal times pays rent and does everything that a tenant would do. So why do you want to ruin that relationship behind $3,000?
Right. Well, yeah, it's the same thing as like hiring
you stand
new
to lose a
people.
lot more by trying to press the issue.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's the same
Human
thing as like
resources.
right. When you hire people, it costs a lot of money to retrain, rehire.
Yeah.
A lot of time that it takes to do all that.
Oh yeah.
You know.
The loss of productivity in the meantime as well.
Yeah.
You know, somebody unexpectedly quits and you got to fill the position. You're losing productivity in that time.
Yeah.
Same thing if you just say, like, on the last day of the lease, like, yeah, all right, we're not staying.
Mm-hmm.
We're not giving you notice. You can keep the security deposit, but that's what you got now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
that would
you might
fuck the
juice us for
person.
another month, but hey. You know? Or with 30 days left to go, you just say, okay, we're not paying rent this month. We're going to be out at the end of the month. Take the security deposit. That's our rent.
Mm-hmm.
You can try and sue us for it, but it's going to take a long fucking time and more money than what you're going to make.
Exactly. I feel like I did that one time in the past. And the only time I actually thought that it might bite me in the ass was when I was trying to fill out applications for apartment lotteries.
Yeah.
So, you can get like into one of those 80-20 buildings to get like the affordable rent.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to try to do that. But then you have to get a letter of recommendation from one of your landlords. And I'm like, damn, like the only one I've really been on a lease with has been the first apartment in New York. And for the majority of us, the first apartment in New York is one you kind of want to forget and move on from emotionally and financially.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened there. But whatever. I'm in a good place now.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I hope you can maintain it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you have the attitude to be able to maintain it. Whatever might happen, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be one of the most important lessons to come out of all this too, adaptation. Being able to figure out how to do it a different way.
Right.
Figure out the new way if the old way is not working anymore.
Right, right.
You know? I mean, with me working in the fashion industry, like, who knows when shoots will start happening again, and who knows what production budgets are going to look like when they do. Who knows how long advertising even continues to exist in the fashion industry in a world where influencers have more and more sway. If they can just seed out a few pieces of clothing to celebrities and pay them to essentially just take a photo and put it on Instagram and reach as many people as a printed copy of Vogue, why keep doing the print ad?
But then they still have editorial online. They'll still have to get custom content, not just user-generated content for the Instagrams.
Sure. I mean, editorial never really pays anyway, though. They want to do that shit for a shoestring.
No, true.
They want a set designer and 2 assistants for $1,000.
Damn.
We have $500. Can you make a jungle and a gravel road inside this studio? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
But that's kind of what I was bringing up a little bit ago in terms of like the new shit that's going to come after this, or out of the virus and the pandemic and the economy being on lockdown or on pause for a sec. Like, I truly believe, I'm so optimistic, maybe a little too optimistic, about the fact that there's going to be just as much, if not more, video work after this. Is just going to be in a different realm. Like, right now, I think everything's like, actually, it'll probably stay in the same themes and genres in terms of health and wellness and working out.
Yeah.
In terms of diet, I think that's going to be pushed more so than ever now that we know how important that is.
Right. I would hope so.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think
health is wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, for the longest time, it's like,
in the world, if you're not healthy to enjoy it, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, like, no matter how many Peloton commercials and Mirror commercials you see, it's like, that's more about, looking your best and whatever. But I think now there's going to be some type of like different direction being taken to promote a healthy immune system.
Yeah. And
how to treat your immune system better. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's been so many people that for a long time have been like, yeah, sure, we live in 2020. Like, it's all about now trying to live to 100 years or better. Yeah. I feel like now that's going to be more of a common topic where it's like, fuck, maybe there's something to this. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe I don't want to live necessarily till I'm 100, but I want to live and be super healthy and agile till I'm like 80 and then die, instead of like slowly depreciating to this fucking like moving corpse, well, barely moving corpse, you know what I mean? And then just like dying, painfully.
Yeah. I mean, that almost starts playing in the realm of eugenics as to like end of life care and like how long should you live? Like, if you can't do things for yourself anymore and you can't truly enjoy the things that are wonderful about life, then like, why live? You can see your grandkids grow up maybe, but like, you won't be active in it and you won't be able to really like take part in it. And I would imagine that at a certain point that's pretty depressing to watch life go on and flourish around you and without you. And like, it begs the question of like, would you rather live 80 good years and be done? Or would you rather live 80 good years and then 20 bad ones? Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I feel like there's going to be this new push, like push harder than ever.
The benchmark is only as good as your quality of life for that whole time. Like, live to 100 if you're healthy, if you're still active, if you can do things, if you can, like have your friends, have your family, have like whatever. But, it's kind of like, what are you sticking around for if there's nothing left for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, is I think there's going to be this new push to there's going to be a push to flatten the curve of your health, both physical and mental.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Instead of just like peaking at certain points.
Right.
And then getting married and having 9 to 5 and getting fat and seeing your grandkids and then going to the nursing home and then the morgue. Instead it's like, how do we keep it so it's like there's more of a push for not just like old timers and boomers that know how to use Facebook, but for ones that are like moving more active.
Right.
Like, what's going to be the equinox that opens up for the 65 and up crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're trying to be a 70-year-old keyboard thug. Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of new, interesting content coming out after this.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I really do. 'Cause yeah, health is really all you got.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's everything. And, you know, nobody's bulletproof right now. And we're all starting to realize that.
There's a lot of humbling
all the
happening.
Money you had, yeah, all the, you know.
You know what's funny too is when
all
I
the
saw you
material
yesterday.
Possessions.
When I saw you yesterday, while we were talking, I noticed the new Bentley truck roll past.
Oh yeah.
And right away I was like, that person's driving just like the person in the shitty Honda Civic right there.
Yeah.
They may have a vast difference in their incomes and their financial status.
Yeah.
But they're both living in this world. Like, they're both only protected by thin windows and maybe the thin mask that they have on. They're both so susceptible to whatever's in the air, whether it's COVID, whether it's like the fucking flu, just whatever, like,
or just air pollution.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
It brings together. It brings to the front that humility and that humbleness, and it's like what you were saying earlier. We're all in this together. We live in the same earth. We share it all. It's like, let's stop being so greedy.
Yeah. We're killing the planet. No, the planet's going to kill us first.
Yeah.
This shit's going to be here after us.
Mm-hmm.
So treat it right if we want to stick around longer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's going to be a better world for everybody if we all start making the right decisions and doing things that are for the greater good instead of for the individual good.
Right. Community.
Yes. You know, and it's never too late to make a change. You ever hear this quote? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now.
Never heard that, but I do believe I get it.
Yeah.
Valid point.
Right? And the other one is, once you plant a tree, knowing that you'll never sit in the shade of it, you're starting to understand the point of life.
What does that have to do with, like, patience and time and...
That the things we do now can have an impact
on
beyond
the future.
our lifetimes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
You know?
I'm with that.
Because there's, like, you know, a lot of individualism in the world where people think, like, okay, well, it's not bad for me, so why do I care? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Spring breakers. Well, if I get the virus, I get the virus, but I'm turning up. Like, okay. You know, when you have it and you don't realize you have it, and then you go visit your grandmother after the spring break is over, maybe you're going to start to understand the impact of what you're saying.
But I think that's part of a bigger problem in terms of our culture and YOLO as a phrase being so common. You know what I mean? Like, they're 21-year-old kids. All they want to do is drink and fuck.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've all been there. Some of us are still there, unfortunately, even in, like, our 30s. Not either one of us, it doesn't seem. No. But some people.
I mean, I still like to have sex, but I don't drink anymore.
Yeah. But I'm saying it's like, you're not going to risk getting corona and passing it to, like, 10 people you know just to try to finger some girl. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, that's just not logical. We've grown out of that. I don't think personally I ever would have done that. But whatever, that's just me.
Right.
But no, you're totally right. And that's like last week I literally wanted to throw my fucking phone out of that window right there while I was working on my computer, because like every 5 seconds there'd be a new text or a new post on Instagram talking about some shit having to do with coronavirus. But it's like, yo, the majority of you talking about this wouldn't be saying shit if it didn't directly affect you. I'm sorry, but that's just way too common of a theme I keep on seeing. And I'm like, you people need to shut the fuck up and stop virtue signaling. Right. It's so frustrating.
I mean, it's the same point about proactive versus reactive.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you care all of a sudden?
Right.
Like, there's been so many issues in this world that you never said shit about, Or if people have asked you to help them out about XYZ problem, nah, ghost.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it has to do with you, and it's like, oh, this is how we should wash our hands. It's like, you guys are fucking dumb.
Right. Frederick Douglass, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And then look at what they did to that ledge spot uptown.
What, knobbed it?
They took the chunks out, chiseled out, you know?
Oh, on the landing, yeah.
Nah, Frederick Douglass Circle, where they broke all the ledges.
Yeah.
You want to hear another anecdote? I was up there the week before that happened, and I was with like a bunch of the canal guys, and we're just like skating at that spot. And this older woman came and said, you know, you guys really shouldn't be doing that here. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, we know it's not allowed, but I don't think we're really bothering anyone. You know, we're staying in this contained space. And she's like, well, you're destroying this monument, and you know, you really shouldn't be disrespecting Frederick Douglass like that, because that's not what this place is made for, and it says it's not allowed. And I said, like, well, Frederick Douglass was really big on integration and breaking down the artificial boundaries and barriers between people, and making everything for everybody. So I think maybe he would actually have our back on this. Well, you guys should go and lobby to have a new skate park built, because we spent a lot of money on this. And I said, well, this already exists, so why spend more money on another place for us to skate at when this is already here and it's already so good? This could just be a public place that's shared. You know, maybe you have certain hours where skateboarding is allowed. Maybe during those hours, you have some metal caps that go on top of the ledges. Cut out some stainless steel shapes and just pop them on top of the bench. And then, you know, just run it like that so it's not damaging anything. Well, we're having a planning meeting this coming week. You should all attend. I was like, I mean, yeah, I don't live in this neighborhood, but maybe I'll be able to do that. I don't know. And it didn't work out. I wasn't able to make it to it. She also said that her husband was a civil rights attorney during the time of integration in the U.S. And I said, so he probably defended a lot of people that broke the rules. Why did he do that? Well, it was the law, but they weren't really doing anything wrong.
Nor are we.
Right, exactly.
No,
so why do you want to go the wrong way on this?
Right.
Why do you want to make this into something that is just, you know? She said, well, people can't even come and enjoy this park because you guys are here. I was like, it's in the middle of a 4-lane rotary.
Yeah,
it's
there's
not
never
easy
anyone
to get
there.
to. And, you know, there's a couple inscriptions here that you can read, but you can appreciate this from a distance pretty much just as well as you can up close. You don't have to be here, like, and not for anything, but Central Park is right there too.
I was just about to say that. It's
you
like,
got a huge place that people can go have passive recreation, go lay in the grass. Like, why do you want to sit on a piece of marble when there's that?
Besides,
right
we all
directly
know,
across the street.
Yeah, we all know that anyone that's going to Central Park on the west side too is just going to that John Lennon strawberry field
Strawberry
section.
Fields,
Yeah,
by
exactly.
Dakota.
It's like no one's really going up to Frederick Douglass Plaza.
No. But fast forward about a week, and the Parks Department went there with their hammers and chisels, and they took a bunch of chunks out of all the ledges, and now you can't skate there anymore. And I've been there since then. I don't notice a huge influx of passive recreation, people just going there to sit and drink a coffee. But I see a lot less people skating there.
Yeah.
So, you know, basically what it came out to is you spend a lot of money to build it. Then you spend a lot of money to defend it in the form of police and parks department, and then you spend a lot of money to destroy it.
Right. Yeah, isn't that
And
funny
what
how...
was it all for?
Yeah, for nothing. To literally keep people out. Like, the only people that come there are skaters, and you keep them out. What's funny, though, too, is that she was probably thinking, and I'm sure the Parks Department thinks this, that, like, oh, you're chipping up the ledges, you're taking chunks out of it. It's like, no, you literally did that.
Right.
You literally came there with a fucking jackhammer and did that.
Yeah, you read our blueprint and you ran with it.
Yeah. Times 100.
Yeah.
The world we live in.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's a big part of the problem, is that instead of her taking a community-based approach and saying, okay, well, this group of people, even though this thing isn't designed with them in mind, has found a useful purpose for it. They're not hurting anyone. They're not bothering anyone, not willfully. We're not like taunting pedestrians. We're not doing anything to like try to make people feel unwelcome. If people have a fear of what we're doing, I would think that more often it's because of a lack of understanding than it is an actual threat. And, naturally, there's like shitheads in every section of society, and definitely within skateboarding. There's people that would not have just had a civil discourse with her about it and would have just told her, in so many words, kick rocks. But, my hope was that by trying to talk about it in an intelligent and respectful way with her, that maybe it would change her mind in some way. And I think maybe it did. I think she realized that I made some good points, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because law and order.
Yeah.
And you don't bend the rules for anybody. It doesn't matter how good of a case they make.
I feel like her mind was probably already made up too.
Absolutely.
And so was everyone else's that went to that community meeting and decided to cap it.
Absolutely.
That's just how it is.
How long has she lived in that neighborhood? I don't know. She might have been there 6 months. Maybe she grew up there. I don't know. How many other people that were at that meeting grew up there? How many people,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I skateboard at a lot of places. I go to every corner of New York City to skate. And what I've noticed more and more is that in the economically depressed and underserved neighborhoods, that's where people are the most receptive to it. And they don't have a problem with sharing space. You go to Brownsville and, like, you can skate anything. Like, don't get mixed up in the wrong shit, but, like, they don't care that you're doing that there. And,
Well, because there's way more serious shit to worry about.
They got
in the daily.
other issues to worry about, but I feel they also have a better understanding of what it means to share things because they didn't grow up with a lot of personal property and space and privilege. Mm-hmm. So they get the concept of I can use this and you can use this at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, I've been yelled at before, even in Brownsville, just because, sometimes skating is loud.
For sure.
And people might be like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. I'm trying to chill.
Yeah.
That might have also been a person.
That.
Yeah, that might have also been a person that just worked like a graveyard shift somewhere. Like, totally understandable.
Yeah, totally respect
I just woke up hungover and tried to go skate at 2 p.m.
You're right.
Your situation is more important. I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you live here and, but I also will try to ask people, like, is there a time that it wouldn't bother you if we were doing this, Yeah. And I think when you put it in those terms, it humanizes it a little bit more. Like if you meet it with hostility, then the situation's only going to escalate. Mm-hmm. But if you try to be kind of, kind, calm, and understanding and come to an agreement, it seems to work out a lot of the time, With security guards, they got a job to do, always. But they might tell you when their shift is over. They might tell you when the building closes down, and then, you can come here and you probably would get a good half hour at that time.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything to try to make somebody more irate in a situation like that.
Of course.
It's not useful. It's not productive.
Man, Have you read Outliers? Or no, excuse me, not Outliers. Have you read any Malcolm Gladwell books?
No, I don't think so. He was like The Tipping Point, right?
Yeah. So he just put a new one out a couple months back called Talking to Strangers.
Okay.
And that's literally exactly what we're talking about right now.
Right.
Like, he starts off and ends the book with the Sandra Bland case. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's like verbatim exactly what we're talking about, is in terms of how you can escalate or de-escalate a situation.
Right.
How, especially between different cultures, we like to read people's expressions to try to justify how they might feel, how we're going to react to how we think that they feel.
Yeah.
It's so interesting and complicated, but at the same time, it's also very simple in that if you just keep an even-keeled tone, there's so many problems that are avoidable.
Right.
There's so much better and clearer communication when you level with people.
Right.
And you act like a human corresponding with a human.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, you let go of ego. You just let common sense play out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I don't like it when somebody comes at me sideways, so why should I answer them sideways?
Of course. Yeah. And, you know, like, I understand that there's a lot at play when it comes to, like, I don't know, positions of power, authority, and those are obviously important. No one wants to feel no one wants their physical to be threatened, nor do they want their authority and their power to be threatened as well.
Right.
So you might be on the defense sometimes.
Right.
Places like New York City might raise that level of defense because everything is so cutthroat here.
Right.
Not everything, but it's like, comparatively speaking to other places in the world, yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah. It still kind of comes down to the individual. It depends on who the person is to begin with, what kind of day they're having. And also, as you said, what you've done to escalate or de-escalate the situation. But it happens to me probably about 50% of the time where a security guard is like, I kind of feel like a dickhead even doing this because it's nothing to me, but this is my job. I have to tell you to leave. And, you know, I could totally respect that.
Yeah.
Because we're all slaves to an economic system. This is your job. This is your way of surviving. Who am I to tell you that you can't do your job? And as much as people want to say, well, this is my job too, skateboarding, like, yeah, but not really. Like,
yeah, it's like
your
if you're
job is not to do it here.
It's the thing. Yeah. It's like you have the option to keep it moving.
Right.
That dude does not. He has to go back in the building and like report to a boss. Right. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's going to be his ass when, you know, the police have to be called or whatever other thing that brings more heat to the situation. And then the more times the police have to be called, the more times, you know, or the more the situation is just simmering, right?
Yeah.
So now the next time anybody shows up, they come out on 10 already.
Yeah.
You know, they're not calm and collected.
Yeah, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Right.
It's unfortunate because that could be applied to so many things in life.
Absolutely.
So many situations.
It applies
far
to
beyond skaters.
It applies to everything.
Yeah.
That's why I think skateboarding is like some of the best life training you can get if you do it in urban settings and you go to a lot of different places and meet a lot of different people, because it puts you in scenarios that the average person just is not usually in.
Yeah.
And it teaches you to deal with people in a certain way.
Of course, yeah. It's like it's always testing your personality.
Right. Like you figure out what's more effective and what's not. And it takes longer or shorter time for some people, but eventually it kind of should click that, like, the more you kind of are respectful and conduct yourself right, the better it's going to turn out ultimately.
Yeah,
you know?
for both parties.
Yeah, like, you're a security guard, I'm a skater. We don't have to be enemies. Like, we're doing two things that are in conflict, but personally, we don't have to be in conflict.
Right. Yeah, like, I think skaters are smartening up about that the same way that they're smartening up about like the whole piss drunks lifestyle and how that's just not that cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so much more of a push these days for like a healthy, more athletic skater. Whether you call it jockish or not,
Yeah.
overall it's the way it's going and it's just
Right.
smarter. It's the same way as being like that's like if you were living in 2020 and trying to push back against iPhones and like
Yeah.
running a basic flip phone. It's like
Yeah.
just stop. Like
Right.
it's not that big of an evil that you have to like take part in. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's jockish if you're like trying to hold it over somebody or say like, you know, I'm more jacked than you, I skate better than you, eat better than you. Things like, when you try to make it a competition, that's when it becomes jock. If you're doing it for your own good and maybe to inspire other people, like, you know, and same thing with like my diet and lifestyle. Like, as I said, I'll talk about it as much or as little as you want, but I would kind of rather just let the results speak for themselves. You can watch how I live and how things work out for me, and you can decide to either try it or not based on my results and example. But, you know, it's not for me to tell somebody, hey, you're evil because you eat meat and drink milk. But I will say that, like, you might find a positive change in your life if you were to try and cut that out or cut it back. And you know, it's the same with exercising. It's the same with, you know, meditation or like any other thing that can improve your general health and well-being, you know? People don't like being told what to do.
Never.
Ever. No matter what it is. And people have a real tendency to want to rebel, I think, when they're told what they have to do, you know? If everybody was required to smoke cigarettes, how much do you think people would want to smoke cigarettes?
That's really smart.
Right? Like if you had to do it, would you really want to do it anymore?
Right.
If I had to make a video for somebody, would I really want to make a video for somebody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same across the board. Like a lot of these concepts just apply to everything in my mind. That like having your free will and having the things that you care about and that are important to you matters more than somebody telling you that you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to the gym 5 days a week. Now I don't want to.
Yeah.
You have to eat vegan. Well, now I kind of want to eat a steak.
You know, you make a good point because all those milk ads have done the opposite effect on me where now I'm just like, ugh.
Right.
Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Just thinking about drinking, like, a pint of milk. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe when I was, like, 10 years old, that was
Right.
cool. But...
But also, you're...
ugh.
You know, you're told from such a young age that this is what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you're indoctrinated from birth, basically, and it's so normalized that you're like, well, why don't you drink milk? Why wouldn't you want to drink milk? You have to drink your milk. You have to get your calcium.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plants that give you more calcium than milk,
Yeah.
and they don't give you hormones and estrogen and whatever else, whatnot, and what have you that's bad about it.
I mean, I think going forward,
You know,
we should...
You eat a moringa, you're going to feel a lot better than drinking a glass of milk.
Yeah. I think we should stick to a general rule of thumb that it's titty milk or bust. Like,
Word.
get it from the titty and then leave it for life.
Well, hey, guess what? Like, humans are also the only creature that drink milk after early childhood.
Right.
And we're the only ones that drink the milk of anything but our own species.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Because dairy cows are the key to the beef and veal industry, right? Like the male calves that are born, slaughtered immediately, made into veal. Female calves are raised for more milk and eventually for beef, right? So the milk is just like the byproduct of that, basically. You have a lot more cows being born than what there need to be because they're on farms in captivity. And then the milk is taken. The child is taken.
Yeah. Well, that has
It's
also...
also all the product of rape, too. Like, these cows are impregnated against their will. Like, you know, they don't sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
you may or may not have seen the process, but it's pretty grisly. I'll leave it to people to research that on their own, how they impregnate these things. But
Is that on YouTube?
Sure, everything is.
Isn't that fucked up that certain things you can't have on YouTube, you'll get flagged, but then you can just watch cows get raped?
Right. Well, because it's not us, it's another species.
Yeah.
So why do we care?
There is some interesting videos though, like Komodo dragons eating animals.
Yeah.
Those videos are vicious.
Sure. Oh, nature is vicious, but humans left nature a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, comparatively speaking,
we don't
we're
forage,
pussy.
we don't hunt.
We're pussy.
Word. You know what our real place in the food chain is? Is not the one we think it is.
Right.
How many people that eat a carnivorous diet do you think really have it in them to take down an animal?
Right. Even just mentally, like even if you're a big Debo jacked hunter,
yeah,
you might not want to kill that.
Right.
You might not want to pull the trigger.
You're still going to need tools.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it with your jaws like how a lion or a wolf or a tiger or something would. You're not going to put your claws in something to hold it still while you bite its neck until it dies.
Yeah. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry just talking about this.
Right?
I wonder how a lion tastes.
But what you can do is, we've also figured out agriculture. You can plant seeds and water them.
Mm-hmm.
You can forage for berries. You can find, here's a good example. The dandelion. Do you know how nutritious a dandelion is?
Dandelion root, I know, is used for stuff.
That's medicinal, yeah.
Yeah.
But the greens are some of the most nutrient dense of any edible plant.
Is that why they always grow along with weeds? Is it because they're so resilient and therefore full of nutrition?
I mean, they're considered weeds, but yeah, I mean.
But I'm saying no matter how much pesticide you spray on them, they keep on growing back.
Yeah.
Is that why? I guess. Is it because they're so nutrient dense that they're resilient to a lot of the shit that we spray on them?
Yeah, it's a very robust plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, here's a couple dots you can connect, right? So, dandelions being so nutrient dense, for whatever reason, we consider them weeds. You have a lawn, you want it to just be nice grass, right? Which serves no purpose other than a slight cooling effect, but not more than weeds. It's the same green shit. It's still got water content. It's still has the same cooling effect. But you want grass because you've been told grass is better. A nice manicured lawn is better. Number one weed killer is Roundup, right? You know who makes Roundup? The Monsanto Corporation. You know who controls most of your food supply?
Monsanto.
The Monsanto Corporation, right? So somewhere along the line, they gave you this trick knowledge that you need to kill this thing. You need to do anything you can to get this off your property. Now we find out that one of the key ingredients in Roundup, glyphosate, is a carcinogen, right? So if you're a landscaper and you're just spraying Roundup all day, you may very well end up with some form of cancer from that. Killing something that could sustain your health. And instead, you want to eat something that's genetically modified, which also has been sprayed with that weed killer.
The vicious cycle.
Right.
Well, you know what's interesting, too, now that we're talking about it? So how I mentioned how during this coronavirus epidemic, most people are only fixated on the numbers of new cases, total deaths, whatever, all the worst shit.
Right.
All the most sensationalized worst shit possible.
Right.
No one's really focused on how many people are being recovered.
Oh, yeah.
How
that's a number they don't give you very often.
Yeah, how often people don't actually even show any symptoms or are in mild condition.
Right.
You know? The other thing, too, with that is I feel like it's so much easier to find information on all these things that we're talking about now that aren't necessarily, for example, the beef industry.
Yeah.
you'll find way more information on how to like cook a good steak, or the nutritional value, where to go out for a good steak, like Peter
Right.
Luger or wherever the fuck else in Manhattan. But you won't necessarily that easily find information on what you were just talking about, how to forage for berries.
Right.
Like, I had no clue about dandelions and that they're actually nutritionally dense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, I'll give you the disclaimer, too. Don't just eat one when you see it, because you don't know what the quality of that soil is, the water that's been put to it, anything like that. If you're cultivating it, that's another thing.
Right.
But, you know, you blow the spores off one of those, the next day you got 50. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's real easy to grow them.
I'm going to check that out. Maybe this springtime, new little project for me.
Yeah, make a little planter box in your backyard. You got a backyard over there?
Fire escape.
Word. There you go.
Yeah. May as well.
Yeah.
I got time.
Yeah. We all
And soon
got
some
time.
money from unemployment.
Nice. Yeah, same. Freelancer unemployment. Finally, the day has come.
Yeah. Dude, I'm saying, like, people need to look at this as more of a opportunity versus, like, a huge hit to their life.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
Everything's up in the air right now.
Yeah.
The plan is always subject to change. We can do so much good in the world right now
Yeah.
if we choose to.
It's
if
a blank
everybody
slate.
get together and do it the right way, things could go a lot better.
Yeah, it's a blank slate.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
right.
I'm really looking forward to it.
But at the same time that we're getting this stimulus check, there's like corporate bailouts rolled into that as well. And when small businesses inevitably go under after this economic hit, and big corporations have been boosted with this stimulus, what happens? What happens to the people that operated those businesses? What happened to the people that worked for those businesses?
Yeah. Well, the only thing I can say towards that is the fact that some corporations, some companies...
Unknown name.
I've never seen that pop up like that.
Damn. My friend Unknown Name's calling me.
What I was going to say is, like, with something like that, it's tricky because if you have a huge corporation that already employs a lot of people,
Yeah.
that already has a huge assembly line, which has its own set of employees, that might be a worse hit than, like, 5 restaurants going out. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think we need both,
Right.
especially in a place like New York City where a lot of the income, a lot of the gross domestic product comes from small businesses.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the service industry reigns supreme over pretty much every other industry, particularly in New York.
Yeah, hospitality's huge here.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
But it's like, it sucks, but we've been through this before so many times. It's just going to keep on occurring. I'm just thankful of the fact that now there's like some type of, like, the shit that Bernie Sanders has been pushing for
Yeah.
is actually kind of coming to fruition now.
Right.
Like, the
Yeah.
extra $600,
I mean,
is that
they'll
per
never
week?
let him be the president, but some of his ideas might live on without him.
Right. Yeah.
He
Which,
might have planted the seed.
maybe he was that one dandelion that we all blew on,
Yeah.
and now there's actually something that's flourishing from it.
Yeah. I would like to think so.
Yeah. I think we as a society are smartening up.
I hope so.
More woke. Or waking up, not more woke.
Right.
There's too much wokeness already.
Yeah.
That actually, I made a
Woke
meme.
skater are you?
Yo, smart. I made a meme that I was gonna post on Instagram, and I was like, I'm just gonna offend way too many people.
Yeah.
But it was the cover of the Time Person of the Year, and it was just a blank slate, and it just says cancel culture. We've canceled half of Hollywood.
Yeah.
We canceled half of Twitter.
Yeah.
If anyone's out of the echo chamber or out of the norm, they're cut. They're done.
Right. I think it's more people that are inside the norm that are getting cut.
What do you mean?
Of like the sanctioned hate speech and the things that have been going on forever. The institutions that have been protected of like racial inequality and homophobia, xenophobia, all the things that like we've normalized for so long. I think that's what's really getting canceled more so.
To an extent, yeah. No, that for sure is being canceled, and that's all great.
Yeah.
I'm saying what's also being canceled. It's almost like when someone with cancer starts getting chemotherapy and actually starts to kill the good cells too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same thing is happening in our culture where it's like, yeah, the bad things are being canceled, but now it's like, for example, we talked about this yesterday. Lizzo is obese.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
And obesity is a problem, particularly in America.
Right.
If a fitness trainer tells people on a morning TV show to not focus on her weight and focus on her music instead, she should not be getting canceled for being weight or obesity phobic or whatever the fuck they called it.
Yeah.
I understand that's kind of a tricky one.
Yeah.
And she apologized for
it.
I think she had to apologize, though, because otherwise, like, she probably would have 0 clients versus, like, the 2 remaining ones or whatever.
Right.
My point is that people are way too obsessed with what's trending and what they think they should be saying and not actually speaking their true mind.
Right.
And I think there's, back to what I was saying about that meme, half of Hollywood's canceled, half of Twitter's canceled. Now fucking spring and summer are canceled.
Right.
And the only win here is that people actually got their inevitable strike of the MTA because no one's riding that fucking MTA.
Yeah.
Which is actually now biting everyone in the ass because while we're trying to get, well, luckily we got this $2 trillion stimulus bill. Now the MTA is also asking for money. Cuomo is literally having to battle like, fuck, all right, how do we figure out how to get a bunch of respirators and masks and gowns for doctors and hospital beds, but also give the MTA their money? It's so fucked.
Don't. The MTA, by the way,
is privately owned.
Yeah, it's not a branch of New York government.
Yeah,
and like
that's the
a lot of people
part.
don't seem to know that. I know it's private enterprise,
right?
And somehow they're like in this, very special circumstance where they have dedicated police detail, and a lot of enforcement techniques in place, and a lot of now surveillance techniques in place, and there aren't really a lot of other private enterprises that you can think of that fall in that category. And is public transportation necessary in a place like New York City? I say yes. Does it have to be a battleground between the haves and the have-nots? I say absolutely no. A person jumping a turnstile, for the most part, is not doing it for the cheap thrill. It's like an issue of means.
Yeah, and necessity.
Exactly, yeah. If you have the money to spend on it, I think a lot of people do, and also if you feel like you're getting the quality of service that you should be able to expect from something that is financed and operated in that way, such as, trains that run more frequently than every 20 minutes, clean conditions, reliability of lines all the time, instead of like night and weekend work on at least 4 or 5 train lines at any given time. Is maintenance necessary? Yeah, of course it is. But, there's got to be some other way of doing this without also consistently raising the fares and consistently turning it into a police state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the only thing I can think of otherwise is the Trump building, Trump Tower.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Yeah, but like that's almost more understandable because he's
in.
the president, unfortunately. But still, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's got to be a protected citizen at this point because there's enough people that don't like him.
Yeah.
But Here's another anecdote for you. Early on in the time that I started living in New York City, I was trying to put money on a Metro card. I put a $20 bill into the machine. The card spit back out, and the $20 had not been added. And I got a receipt that said $20 inserted, 0 added to card. So I go to the person in the booth and I say, well, what do I do about this? How can I, can I get my $20 back? Oh, well, you have to send the card to this address, and you got to send the receipt with it, and you should take photos of everything for your own records, and then they'll get back to you. They'll send you the $20. It took me 6 months to get that $20 back.
Damn.
On a Metro card, not 20 cash.
Right.
I got a Metro card, right? Now, luckily I wasn't in this position, but if that's my only $20 that I have for my transportation budget to get back and forth to work,
yeah, like you're fucked.
What to do now? Right? Like the machine ate $20. Now I don't have it, and I still got to go to work. So, do I jump the turnstile or do I lose my job?
Yeah.
And if I jump the turnstile, I already don't have $275 to pay the fare, so I definitely don't have $100 to pay the ticket. So now, what happens then? Do you get a bench warrant for not paying that?
Yeah.
Right?
So now you risk being arrested and going to bookings and actually losing your job.
Yeah, so now you get picked up for whatever, and God forbid if you're like a person of color and you're disproportionately targeted for, and stop and frisk was going on during this time too. Mm-hmm. So if they ask you for your ID, you got the bench warrant because you hopped the turnstile because the machine ate your $20. Now you're locked up.
Mm-hmm. I actually went to the one time and hopefully only time I ever made it to bookings. I went because of the MTA.
Yeah.
Granted, I think it was also a little bit because of karma. But long story short, long evening drinking with my friends at the levee. Got plenty faded on beer and shot deal.
Yep.
Ran across a bunch of cars. We used to play this game like, yo, who can run across as many roofs as possible?
Wow,
yeah.
Man.
So we were just being little shitheads, but we went home at like 1:30 a.m. Like a pretty reasonable time for a Saturday night in the summertime.
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, and I was trying to be like,
it's a lot better than most.
Yeah, it was Saturday night. I was like, I have to drive home to Massachusetts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Study for a test on Monday. So I'm actually trying to be responsible. We get to the Marcy J train, and there used to be a booth right there on the Manhattan-bound side.
Yeah.
A little police booth. So, but it was tinted. You could never see if there was actually anyone in there.
Right.
Me and like 3 friends try swiping our cards, nothing's working. We finally have a line forming behind us of people at 1:30 a.m.
Right.
So we're there long enough to try to swipe through.
Yeah.
Finally, someone with a weekly or a monthly, whatever it was, because you know how like when you prepay, you have to swipe several times before it works.
Yeah,
if it's a monthly or weekly, somehow magically it works.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah, go figure, because you paid up.
You got the platinum card.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
and
boss.
He swiped through. We see the train coming, and he's like, yo, I'll just open the emergency gate.
Yeah.
So we all go through the emergency gate. 2 cops come out. They try to ask for ID, and I'm like, this is before I realize you can't reason with NYPD.
You're right.
It's a reason why fucking prodigy of Mobb Deep calls them New York pricks and dicks.
Yep.
That's who they are. They keep on asking for ID. I'm like, sir, you literally just watched me through that window, like, try for 10 minutes. The shit wasn't working.
Right.
You could have been a good Samaritan and walked up, like, what's the issue? And seen I had cash on here that wasn't working.
Right.
And could have directed me, been like, just go to the other entrance or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before the next train came.
Yeah.
And instead, now he's cuffing me. So I'm like, you fucking pricks.
Must have been cuffing season.
Yeah, well, it was towards the end of August, so they were looking to fill their quota. Assholes.
Yeah.
I still pass those classes, so whatever.
Nice. Yeah, and you live to tell the tale.
Yeah, I got my degree.
Word.
I slept on a pissy floor.
Right. But what'd you have to do? Cash bail?
No, there was no bail. So here's the thing. They drove us from Marcy all the way down fucking Broadway to Broadway Junction.
Yeah.
They processed us there.
Nice.
They let David Nelson go because he actually at one point did comply, so he showed him ID. But he was like dickhead enough where they took him and our other friend Dave with us. They let him go. me and the other Dave went to bookings at like 6 in the morning. We got driven out.
Nice.
And then
extradited.
Yeah, right. We're driving down Eastern Parkway. I have no clue where I am.
Right.
Never been in that part of Brooklyn. I'm
Right.
like, yo, are they like taking me to fucking kill me? Because like I'm starting to get hungover at this point.
Oh, God.
And I haven't slept yet. And I'm like, oh fuck, like reality's kind of hitting. And yeah, like I was asking, I was like, are we gonna get bailed out? They're like, so you have to wait to see the judge first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then we get to bookings that like whatever, the cops are trying to be all funny with us. And I'm like, this feels so uncomfortable. Like I was more mad than sad.
Right.
And I wasn't really even nervous. I was just like, this is a fucking huge waste of time.
Right.
And I'm like sitting in the main cell now with like other people, and I'm reading the placard on the wall. Average wait time here is 24 hours. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
And then finally I saw the judge for 10 seconds. She spat some shit off. How do you plead? Not guilty. All right, boom, case closed, you're out. I'm like, why was I here then?
Yeah.
For 10 seconds?
Right.
I just spent 20 hours
Right.
for 10 seconds to see you to tell me to go home.
Right.
You fucking kidding.
Right. And, by the way, like, they never even got the subway fare from you.
Never.
And all these cops got paid to carry this out. The judge got paid to see you.
Yeah.
Where does all that come from?
Exactly.
So, like, this is a system out of balance. Like, it's not even... It's not accomplishing any kind of justice. It's not, like, realigning anything in society for the better. And it's actually probably costing the taxpayer money for you to have to go through all this.
Oh,
and then
1000%.
eventually just be found not guilty.
Yeah. And the fare's still going to go up.
Yeah. This
Damn
past December, I was down at Zuccotti Park, and the kid Isaac White was trying to do switch crook on the ledge, going off the stairs. Diego Donovan was filming it. He was doing it for the potluck video, and it was like one of the final days of the filming for that. And I was just there, like, I had linked up with them and my friend Caleb, and Caleb and I were on the sidewalk, kind of like making sure that nobody was going to walk in the path of him landing off this ledge, also telling him not to go if there are a lot of people about to walk across the street or what have you. And, you know, he's trying it, and, like, getting close, like, really, you know, had it in the bag, but, like, it was just a lot going on. And at some point, Isaac ran across the street and grabbed an orange construction barrel and put it kind of next to the ledge so that people wouldn't walk like right like at the face of the ledge on the sidewalk. But except he didn't put it quite close enough, so it kind of, if anything, was funneling people more toward the ledge. So I then go over and move it and go resume my post where I'm like kind of holding people back, whatever. And there's like a gathered crowd, people filming on their cell phones and all this stuff. Like, people were loving it. And meanwhile, you got like the Mike Jackson impersonator on the other corner of the park who's drawing his own crowd. And it's just like a pretty good vibe overall. Like, people are happy, entertained. It's probably a lot of tourists that are like enjoying the whole thing, right?
Pre-corona.
Word. Yeah, this is before social distancing. I was just trying to keep people distant from the ledge so they wouldn't get landed upon. So in the midst of all this, like, now here comes the counterterrorism cop from across the street from the checkpoint that you would drive into if you were going to drive into the World Trade Center. And he comes to me specifically. You got any ID on you? Yeah, I have my ID. What's up? Well, you're obstructing a pedestrian way here. I said, by me standing here? Well, no, I just saw you move that barrel. Okay, I mean, do you need me to move the barrel? He's like, well, you know, that's not really the point. You're obstructing the way, so I need to see your ID. I give him the ID. And he goes in the booth. He's there for like 30 minutes doing I don't know what. All throughout this time, still skating the ledge. Still, like, I'm still in my spot, like, making sure he doesn't land on anybody. There's private security for Zuccotti Park, too. And the counterterrorism cop even said to me, you know, I'm not going to say anything about the skating because they got their own security to deal with that, but this is a public safety issue, so I have to handle this. I'm like, you got a job to do? All right, fine. Here's the ID. He goes, comes back in about 30 minutes with a summons for me. And it says that I'm going to have to appear before the judge in the, you know, county courthouse and all this. And do you have any questions? It's like, yeah, like, why didn't you just have me move the barrel instead of going through all this? Well, I told you it's bigger than that. Okay, I'll go to court. And, you know, as time went on, it got to be like, this was like probably the second week of December. It's like, by the time I'm really looking at this thing, it's like a few days after Christmas, or like maybe the day after. And I look at it, I'm like, January 26th, I have to appear in court. I look at my calendar. That's a Sunday. I guess I'm going to have to call these people. And the following day, because I was in Rhode Island, and I still have a Rhode Island driver's license. So any notices that I get for like official business like this will go to that address, my mom's house. And the letter comes in the mail that, you know, I forget the exact wording of it, but due to an inconsistency in the summonsing process, I no longer have to appear.
Because it was a Sunday.
Because it was a Sunday. So this genius wrote it for the wrong day. Now, was he trying to do me a favor and did it intentionally? I'm not convinced of that. I think he might have blown it. And what this kind of makes me think of is like, you're in charge of counterterrorism?
Well, there's two problems. A, there's that, and B, clearly we're pretty fucking safe in America if a counterterrorism cop is spending 30 minutes
right
not telling you to move a cone.
Right.
It's
and he
so
had
fried.
said, like, you know, I've been watching you guys for a while. Like,
it's like, what the fuck else do you watch then?
So,
Pornhub?
like, you see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, you understand that he's going about the biz here, right? Like, it's all going on like it's supposed to, other than the fact he hasn't landed it yet. But, you know, nobody's getting hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody's enjoying
like
themselves.
You have lookouts.
I moved a barrel.
Yeah.
This far. I didn't go get it across the street. I moved it like this.
Once again, man.
Well, I saw you do it.
Talking to Strangers is literally, you should read that book. Because
Right.
it's literally based upon all these interactions that we have with one another.
Yeah.
And it's just ever so relevant in the lifestyle that we live, particularly. But most importantly, to any New Yorker that, like, leaves their house.
Right.
So it'll be a nice read right now so that in May, when we can all go outside and co-inhabit this city of ours,
Yeah.
we'll actually maybe have a thing or two that we learned about it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I really wonder what it's going to look like when everybody's let out of these cages, man.
It's going to be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be dope.
Oh, the single ladies.
Yeah, everybody's so horny and repressed right now, man. It's going to be like that one real warm day in March where, like, the sundresses start coming out and everybody's just, like, losing it. You know, like, just don't know how to act because they're like, it's been cold for so long and you've been barred indoors and you could forget that the opposite sex even exists during these times. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about that yesterday.
You finally make it outside and everybody's looking good and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
It's time to act a fool.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's going to be when this is all said and done.
And I can't wait.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it.
It's about to be sick. I guess we'll just end the episode on that good note.
Yeah.
Looking forward to spring.
Some positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, spring, summer, whatever. If we do get a summer, I'm making a Beach Genius sequel.
Let's get it.
Beach Genius H 2.0.
I'm I'm gonna claim. So you said the co-video 19 is coming out Friday, correct?
Friday, April 3rd. That's the plan.
When's the deadline to submit clips?
I don't know. Today, tomorrow, maybe Thursday. I don't know. I can kind of push it a little bit. It's, you know, I'm editing it myself, and it's like
No. Let's keep it strict.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is this you asking, or if it's like to send open the floodgates? Because if it's you that wants to get a clip in there, like, yeah, I'll let you.
I want to get a clip in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. I'm checking the weather right now, so I want to.
I think it's supposed to be decent the next couple days.
Yeah.
And we got a few more hours of daylight even today.
Yeah.
What's it, about 2 p.m. right now?
It's 2. Yeah. No, we're good. After this, I'm
gonna.
gonna.
Sense of time these days. Even though time is imaginary, I'm trying to really cultivate a sense of it.
The sun still shines whether it's cloudy or not.
That's right.
You know.
At the end of the day, we still living.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
All right, Thom. Let's cut this. Thank you for coming through.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
You.
This was great.
Yeah, it's fun. Podcasting's just fun.
Hell yeah.
It's like,
just
it makes sense.
Shit, man.
Yeah, it makes sense why there's like a million of them these days.
Right.
It's very fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't love hearing my voice still, but I'm getting better with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I've read some studies about why people take so many selfies and how much you can learn about yourself from seeing your picture, not only your picture, but yourself from different angles.
Right.
It's almost kind of like a metaphor of like seeing the different sides to yourself. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. It's fun to get shit out. It's fun to have conversations.
Right.
And especially in a time like this, if we're not producing something, especially as like creatives and creators, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do something positive with your time, even if it's just some self-examination and introspection.
Oh, I think that's utmost important.
Yeah.
You can't love other people if you can't love yourself.
That's a fact.
So.
That's a big fact.
Time to start loving yourself and.
Love yourselves.
Analyze.
All of y'all.
All right, thank you. I'd shake your hand, but. God. What a world. Peace, y'all.